Chapter 115. After sending Sangwon to her room, Fong excused herself and asked the ladies to accompany Sangwon while she went out to arrange lunch. Sangwon ordered the servants who followed her to bring down the snacks that they had bought. They were placed on a tray and placed on the table for everyone to chat and pass the time. Outside, Chong Hwan and the rest unloaded the fish, chicken, duck, vegetables, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and wine from the carriage. Everyone helped out while Fong directed them from the side. The daughters-in-law and aunties were even more delighted. They began to tell Sangwon about what happened 2 days ago, adding some details to the story. Although she had heard from Sang Yufei beforehand, Sangwon could not help but sigh when she heard it from the crowd. Second uncle and second aunt were truly bitterly disappointing. Great aunt, you don't know, but second brother Sang doesn't acknowledge Delang and Delang, but he acknowledges great aunt. Who doesn't know what he's thinking? Isn't it because Miss is now the young mistress of the Sher family, so he wants to take advantage of great aunt? How can he say such things? He doesn't acknowledge great aunt's 2 brothers, but acknowledges great aunt. If he had done great aunt a favor in the past, it would be fine, but he didn't. That's right. That's right. Everyone could not help but nod in agreement. Speaking of the couple's unreasonable request to adopt Sang Yufei, everyone's interest was piqued. It was as if they had witnessed it themselves. Adding fuel to the fire and making fun of the couple, Sangwon was angry and amused at the same time. She did not want to talk about or listen to such embarrassing things anymore, so she sighed. The 3 of us have relied on each other since we were young. Now the hard times are over and the good times are coming. My eldest brother is an honest man, so I'm afraid that second brother will be less at home in the future. If anything happens at home in the future, we will need the help of the ladies and sisters-in-law. Let's not talk about anything else. If there's anything you can help us with, we will be grateful. Everybody knew she was talking about Ryo Kuwabara, husband and wife, so they all nodded their heads in agreement. They all laughed and said, "There's no need for Grandaunt to remind us. We have to have a conscience. We can't lie through our teeth, right? You should have said something fair." Sangwon thanked him with a smile, and took the opportunity to talk about other family matters. They chatted happily about their daily lives. After an unknown period of time, Fong pushed the door open and came in. She rubbed her sore shoulders and said with a smile, "Look at me, I was so busy that I didn't have time to talk to you. It's my fault for not being able to help you, sister-in-law. Sorry for making you work so hard." Sangwon stood up with a smile and pulled Fong to sit down. "What are you talking about? How can I let you work when you finally come back?" Fong said with a smile. "Besides, Luya is still busy outside. Luya is getting more and more capable. Fortunately, she's outside taking care of things, so I was able to relax for a while." Everyone saw that their sister-in-law seemed to have something to say, so they tactfully stood up. They all laughed and said that they would go out to see if there was anything else they needed help with. Those who didn't have good eyesight were also tactfully pulled away. Sangwon and Fong left a few empty words and sent them out. Then they turned around and sat down to talk. Fong said, "When those officials came to report the good news, I heard second younger brother say that he wanted to reward them. We discussed it and decided that the leader would get 1 tael each, while the others would get 5 chien each. Grandaunt, you've seen the world. Do you think that's enough?" As she spoke, she felt a toothache and frowned. "I was afraid that it wouldn't be enough, so I prepared 36 portions. Say, these people are also too much. Why did they send so many people to report the news? I still have to prepare lunch for them. I'm going to have to spend money again." Xingji was serving at the side. When she heard this, she couldn't help but purse her lips and secretly laugh. She thought to herself that this sister-in-law was actually an honest person. Sangwon also laughed. "This is a joyous occasion. Aren't people looking forward to eating a good meal and getting a few rewards? Those who can't come are all here? Sister-in-law, don't feel bad. In any case, there won't be many days where you lack money in the future." After she finished speaking, she ordered Xingji to take out a big red envelope from her bag. She took it and handed it to Fong with a smile. "There's a banknote of 100 taels inside. When the time comes, let Big Brother give this to the leader. How they want to divide it is their own business." After lunch, There's nothing else for us to do. 100 taels ah, Fong said in surprise. Isn't it a bit too much? I think 50 taels is enough. Even if you have money, you shouldn't waste it like this. Sister-in-law, Sangwon said with a smile. This is a joyous occasion. Being generous is for good luck. How can you say that it's a waste? Fong could only smile and accept it. She said apologetically. Look at me. I asked you for advice and ended up making you spend money. Really? Sister-in-law, aren't you treating me as an outsider by saying that? Sangwon said with a smile. I'm also happy that second brother passed the GUN exam. You shouldn't say such things. Who knows? Others might say that I'm trying to curry favor with the rich and powerful. Nonsense. Does your Shi family still need to curry favor with a GUN who just passed the exam? Fong said quickly. The logic isn't the same. Sangwon held her hand and said with a smile. So let's not talk about each other. If we continue, we'll be treating each other as outsiders. Fong was startled and laughed. All right, then let's not talk about it. In any case, we'll remember your kindness in our hearts. Sangwon smiled and said, Oh right, for such a joyous occasion, shouldn't we treat our fellow villagers to a meal? I wonder what big brother and sister-in-law think. Although Sang Yufei was the one who passed the GUN exam, the eldest brother was the father and the eldest sister-in-law was the mother. These matters were naturally decided by Sang Hong and his wife. Sangwon was already married and could be considered an adult. Thus, Fong could discuss with her, making Sang Yufei an outsider. Of course, we'll treat them. We've discussed it and we'll prepare a feast to entertain them. Fong said painfully. Let's not talk about anything else. Just for the sake of our pride, we'll have to put on a good show for everyone to see. Our Sang family is no longer the Sang family of the past. After so many years of mockery and ridicule, I'll definitely vent it all out this time. Sister-in-law, you're right. Sangwon could not help but smile. The Sang family had been ridiculed for the past few years, and they had been looking forward to this day. Now that the time had come, of course, they would not miss it. The villagers aren't that particular. It's already good enough that there's fish, meat, and chicken for this feast. Your brother and I can still afford to host 20 to 30 tables. You don't have to worry about this matter. Fong sure knew what Sangwon was going to say when she saw her opening her mouth and quickly stopped her. That's not how it is. Sangwon smiled and said. If we want to vent our anger, then let's do it quickly and thoroughly. We have to do it properly. After setting a date, we'll invite a chef from the town's restaurant. Shark's fin, bird's nest, and other delicacies can be prepared. A table will cost at most 8 to 10 taels of silver. Sister-in-law, think about it. Everyone knows that I married into the Shi family. If this feast is too ordinary, people will say that we're stingy. So please don't be so calculative with me. Fong Shi was dumbstruck for a moment, unable to say anything. Sangwon's words seemed to make sense. Her in-laws were the wealthiest family in Qingzhou, and their wealth was piled up like a mountain. Her brother had been poisoned by Ji Yuan, so if this feast was too ordinary, it would not be appropriate. Even if they were not stingy, they would still be considered as siblings who did not get along well. But spending so much money at once Fong glanced at Xingji from the corner of her eyes and asked, Son-in-law won't have any thoughts about it, right? Spending hundreds to thousands of taels at once was not a small sum. He won't, Sangwon smiled and said. This was his idea, but it's not convenient for him to say it, so I'll have to say it. Fong nodded and sighed with a smile. Since grandaunt and son-in-law have already put it this way, I can't say anything else. I forget it. In any case, we've already owed him a favor, so there's no harm in owing him a little more. Sangwon laughed. Then this matter is settled. I'll inform the young master later. Sangwon smiled. Fong nodded in agreement. She leaned closer and whispered, There's nothing else, but there's one thing that I'm worried about, and there's no one to discuss it with. Fong said as she pointed in the direction of Rio Kuwabira's house. She gestured with 2 fingers and frowned. I know those two's temperament the best. I'm afraid that when the officials come to announce the good news, there'll be a good show. What do you think we should do if the 2 of them come and put on airs? Sangwon was also stunned. Everyone in the village knew about the grudges between the two Sang families, but the people in town did not. Moreover, this kind of matter wasn't something that could be explained in a short time. If Ryokuabaira and Lee came and put on airs, they really couldn't do anything about it. After all, they couldn't argue with them in front of so many people. The people in town didn't know the details, and only saw that the juniors didn't acknowledge their own uncle. They would think that the Sang brothers were unfilial. If that were to spread, it would be very lively. What does Big Brother have to say about this? Fong pursed her lips. What can he do? He said that we can only endure it and wait for the officials to leave. Fong Shi was obviously unwilling to accept this and said angrily, "Why? Let them be in the limelight." Sangwon sighed, "Sister-in-law, I think Big Brother is right this time. We can only let them be. After all, if they want to come, we can't stop them. We can't just tie them up with rope, right? How can we make a fuss about this in front of the officials? It's like adding bad luck to a happy occasion. I think Big Brother is right. Let's just endure it for a while." Fong didn't say anything for a while. She sighed unwillingly. "Are we really going to let them off so easily?" Sangwon smiled. "Other than a temporary advantage, what else can they gain? Sister-in-law, don't argue with them." Fong thought about it and nodded with a smile. "You're right. It's just a matter of a short while. Let them be." As the two sisters-in-law were talking in Rejong, they heard a commotion outside. "They're here. They're here." A voice came from afar. Fong hurriedly stood up. I have to go out and take a look. Grandaunt, you should rest first." It wasn't convenient for Sangwon to go out, so she agreed with a smile and sent her to the door. They saw 2 or 3 idlers running over to report that the officials who delivered the good news were behind them, and would arrive in about 15 minutes. Chapter 116. Sang Hong thanked them profusely, and tipped them with silver. Everyone became excited and looked up, talking and laughing nonstop. Shi Fengju ordered Chang Huan to lead the idlers to sit down and drink tea and eat sweets. He also asked how many people came, and what their identities were. After Chang Huan found out, she told the servant who came along, and the servant passed the information to Fong. Fong understood and hurriedly went to the kitchen to make arrangements. Not long after, the faint sound of festive and high-pitched drum music could be heard. The sound of the drum got closer and louder. Many children were already clapping and cheering as they ran forward to watch the fun. Not long after, a group of officials wearing black official uniforms with red edges and tall hats appeared in front of everyone in a grandiose manner. The person in the middle was holding a vermilion lacquer tray with both hands. On the tray was a piece of red silk cloth covering the good news. Several officials were holding up big red banners with black characters. On the banners, there were pictures of fish leaping over the Dragon Gate, and there were also banners with auspicious words such as silence, congratulations, congratulations, and so on. The guards of honor were orderly and dignified. The musicians followed behind them, playing and beating the drums. It was very lively. "They're here. They're here." Everyone hurriedly went forward with a smile. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your hard work." Ryokuabaira and Li, who had been quietly waiting at the side, took advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on them and appeared like ghosts. They cupped their hands and rushed forward to greet the officials. The deliberately raised voice not only startled Sang Hong and the others, but also the officials. The drum music even went out of tune for a moment. However, the officials didn't pay much attention to it. They just thought that the elders of the family were too happy. They had seen this kind of thing many times. In the blink of an eye, they returned to their normal state, and the drum music became even louder. "You flatter me." The leader smiled and cupped his hands. The people Sang Hong had arranged had already prepared the firecrackers. At this time they lit them together. The firecrackers crackled and exploded enthusiastically. The steaming smoke filled the air, and the air was filled with a thick smell of sulfur. Coupled with the joy, it was especially inspiring. After the sound of the firecrackers subsided, the music stopped as well. The leader of the group then smiled and started singing. "We are here to congratulate Master Top Scorer. Congratulations to Ji Yuan. Congratulations to Jiyuan. As he spoke, he took the tray that was covered with red silk. Everyone had already pushed Sang Yufei out. The leading official knelt on one knee and raised the tray high. Quickly asked the elders to take off the red silk and read the good news to everyone. An official who was familiar with the rules reminded in a voice that was neither loud nor soft. Ryo Kuwabara was about to say, "I'll do it," and rushed forward, but Sang Yufei was faster than him. "Let's invite Rizhong." As he spoke, he cupped his hands and said, "You are the chief of a village, and you have taken care of me all these years. Please don't refuse." "That's right. Everyone is looking forward to it. Please don't be polite." All the villagers despised Ryo Kuwabara and deliberately wanted to squeeze him. They couldn't help but clap their hands and cheer. Intentionally or unintentionally, they pushed him to the back with incomparable enthusiasm. Since that's the case, then this old man won't be polite. Rizhong was also very happy. He cupped his hands and walked forward with a smile, directly ignoring Ryo Kuwabara, who was secretly gritting his teeth and glaring angrily at him. Rizhong walked forward and took off the red silk. He took out the red silk and opened it. With a smile, he read aloud, "Subordinate Sang Yufei from Sai village of Yonglu town, Qingzhou, took the Gungshu provincial examination and obtained first place. Good. Congratulations. Although everyone already knew the news, when they heard Rizhong read it aloud, they still couldn't control their excitement. They all applauded and cheered, congratulating. All the officials also smiled and came forward to congratulate. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei hurriedly returned the greeting. Sang Hong gave the red packet to the leading official and hurriedly invited them into the house to drink tea and rest. He said that he had prepared a meal and invited everyone to stay for dinner. The officials had already smelled the fragrance from the kitchen. They smiled and pretended to decline before entering the house together. "Thank you all for today. I will prepare a banquet to thank you all another day. Many thanks." Sang Hong and Madame Fong bowed to the crowd and thanked them. Everyone knew that they had to entertain the officials who came to report the good news. It was inconvenient for them to stay and cause more trouble. They all smiled and said a few polite words. Other than Rizhong and 4 or 5 other respected elders of the village who stayed to accompany the guests and help with cooking, setting the table, and pouring tea, everyone else left. The central house wasn't spacious enough. Only the leading officials and Rizhong sat down. The rest of the people were scattered in the courtyard and in the corridor to rest. There were people coming and going to serve them tea, candy, and sunflower seeds. Ryo Kuwabara and Li had been blocked by the crowd earlier and hadn't been able to find an opportunity to show off. Now that the crowd couldn't stop them, the two had already rushed into the house. They smiled and invited the officials to sit down. They were full of polite words and loudly ordered, "Hurry up and serve the tea. Bring the tea leaves and make the tea." They used this to show their presence. The leading official couldn't help but be startled. He thought to himself, this person ran out to greet them at the start, but everyone seemed to have intentionally or unintentionally ignored him. He shouldn't be someone from Jiyuan's family, right? But now, his behavior seemed to be that of an elder from Jiyuan's family. When Ryo Kuwabara heard the question, he wasn't in a hurry to answer. He smiled and looked at Sang Yufei intimately. He wanted to force Sang Yufei to call him second uncle in front of everyone. Ryo Kuwabara was able to keep his cool, but Li didn't have so many tricks up her sleeve. When she saw that no one was speaking, she immediately said impatiently, "Our family's master is Yufei's biological uncle. Yufei is our biological nephew." Yufei? The leading official was momentarily stunned by such an intimate address. Rizhong and the other elders scolded her. "What a scandal! Is Jiyuan's name something you can casually call out? Ignorant woman, there's no place for you here. Hurry up and leave." Only then did the officials come back to their senses. So that's how it is. But when they saw the scene of this woman being scolded, their hearts secretly skipped a beat. They thought to themselves, there's a story. They were all experienced officials, so naturally, they didn't reveal anything on their faces. They immediately nodded politely at Ryo Kuwabara and smiled as they sipped their tea. "Master." Li looked at Ryo Kuwabara with an aggrieved expression. Ryo Kuwabara was too busy taking care of himself, so how could he have the time to pay attention to her? He said unhappily, "Don't you see a bunch of men here? Why aren't you going down? Why are you making a ruckus? Go to the kitchen and help out with the preparation of the food. In a while you'll be able to serve the officials." Only then did Lee regain her spirit. She smiled and said, "Yes." Then she walked away with her chest puffed out. But Fong was in the kitchen, so how could anyone pay attention to her? When they saw her come in and look around, they were too lazy to pay attention to her and pretended not to see her. Whatever she asked, they would just say, "I'm busy, I don't have time." This made Lee so angry that her stomach was filled with unhappiness. "Officials, you've worked hard today. You must eat and drink well in a while." Ryo Kuwabara said emotionally, "Our Sang family has finally made it. My nephew didn't have it easy. Ji-Yuan is so young. He must have a bright future ahead of him," the official said with a smile. "Of course. In the future I'll be waiting to enjoy a good life, Ryo Kuwabara said and sighed. He said that the brothers' parents had passed away early, and that he had been worried about them and supported them all these years. Now that he saw that they were all successful, he was truly gratified. The officials didn't understand the situation, but when they heard this, they couldn't help but feel deep veneration. They all chimed in to agree, but gradually, they began to feel that something was wrong. Other than Ryo Kuwabara, no one else, including the Sang Yufei brothers and Ri Zhang, said anything. Everyone couldn't help but feel puzzled. One of them was quick-witted and tactfully changed the topic. He coughed and said with a smile, "This tea is really good. It smells good, it tastes good, and it looks good." An old man chuckled and pointed at Shi Fengjiu. "Of course. This tea was brought back by the Sang family's eldest son-in-law and grandaunt. If it wasn't good stuff, why would they bring it back?" Everyone laughed and agreed. Someone suddenly had a flash of inspiration and exclaimed, "The Sang family's eldest son-in-law, isn't it? Isn't it the eldest young master of the Shi family, the richest family in Qingzhou?" With that, everyone's eyes lit up. They looked at Shi Fengjiu with even more enthusiasm than they looked at Sang Yufei. It's just a title that everyone gave me, it's not worth much." Shi Fengjiu smiled faintly. "Ai. So it really is the eldest young master of the Shi family. It's an honor to meet you." The officials were excited and cupped their hands in greeting. Shi Fengjiu smiled and cupped his hands in return. Everyone chatted and laughed, and the atmosphere relaxed. Ryo Kuwabara also joined in the laughter. He took the opportunity to interrupt. "There's no need to say anything. This son-in-law of our Sang family is a good person. He doesn't put on any airs and is especially filial to his elders. Every time he comes back, he'll visit me. For my niece to have such a husband, my big brother's spirit in heaven will be gratified." Shi Fengjiu felt extremely uncomfortable when he heard this. He was someone who didn't want to hold himself back. He didn't need to be as careful as Sang Hong and his brother. He smiled faintly and said, "You're too polite. Even this time, Wan Yang and I have only come back twice. I don't deserve your praise. Besides, you have your own daughter. Whether or not she is filial to you, it's not up to me." Ryo Kuwabara blushed and hurriedly smiled at everyone. "He's too polite, too polite." No, you're the one who's being polite." Shi Fengjiu smiled. "I'm just speaking the truth." Li Zhang and the rest of the elders could not help but grumble inwardly. This second brother of the Sang family was not someone to be trifled with. Everyone broke out in a cold sweat as they watched. Who would have thought that the young master of the Shi family was not someone to be trifled with? Fortunately, since he could say so, it could be seen that he was a straightforward person with a good heart. Thus, they quickly changed the topic with a smile. Ryo Kuwabara had a stomach full of anger and frustration. Fortunately, Lee came running over and said with a smile, "The food is ready. Please, everyone." Everyone stood up and exchanged pleasantries. Chapter 117. The weather was good at noon, so the dining table was set up in the courtyard. There were a total of 4 tables, and the Sang brothers, Shi Fengjiu, and the Ri Zhang elders were all seated together. The women placed the food and wine on the table before retreating. There was another table in the kitchen for the people who were helping out. This table wasn't as particular, and the food was more casual. However, it was still top-notch. When the officials saw that there were fish, chicken, duck, and meatballs, as well as the best fun wine in town, they couldn't help but feel happy. They politely invited the guests to take a seat, inwardly praising the Sang family for their manners. Madame Lee looked around the kitchen and exclaimed, "Io, is our family's grandaunt's meal ready yet? I'll bring it to her." The women all laughed. "Sister-in-law Fong sent it over a long time ago. We were still waiting for you." When Lee heard this, she couldn't care less about the ridicule and mockery. She turned around and went to the side room. Sang-won and Fong were sitting across from each other as they ate. When they saw Lee suddenly barge in, the two of them were stunned. "Won-young is already eating. Hee, I thought no one would care about you, so I had them prepare food for you. I didn't think that your sister-in-law would already send it over." Fong didn't even bother to put down her chopsticks. She raised her head and smiled. "This is my home, and Won-young is my little sister. Shouldn't I be the one taking care of her? Don't worry about such irrelevant matters. I see that you've been busy for half a day. Go to the kitchen and eat." When Sang-won heard this, she smiled and lowered her eyes without saying anything. Lee sure was hoping that Sang-won would ask her to stay. But who knew that Sang-won would act as if she did not hear her at all? She sat down and chuckled. "I won't be going to the kitchen. There are too many people there, so I'll stay and eat with you all. Do whatever you want. There are no empty bowls here," Fong said indifferently. Lee wanted to get up and go to the kitchen to get a bowl, but she didn't want to be ridiculed by those women. She looked up and saw Xingji standing beside her. She smiled and said, "Sister, please help me get a bowl and chopsticks from the kitchen." "I say, second Aunt Sang, how can you order people around like this? He's from the Shi family. He's a guest, do you understand?" Fong frowned. "Isn't she just Won-young's maid? I'm Won-young's second aunt. Can't I order a maidservant around?" Lee disagreed. "You, sister-in-law." Sang-won could faintly hear the gunpowder in Lee's words. She thought about how Fong said that Lee was running around and wasn't welcomed. She was afraid that she would take the opportunity to make a fuss, and it wouldn't look good if the people outside heard it. She smiled gently and stopped her. She said to Xingji, "Go. The elderly are old and should accept your bow." It was obvious that she didn't care about relatives and only cared about etiquette. "Yes, young mistress." Xingji didn't mind. She bent her knees and bowed before turning to leave. "Our Won-young is still the most polite." Lee proudly threw a glance at Fong and smiled at Sang-won. She patted Sang-won's hand affectionately. Her greedy eyes looked down from her head and praised, "Io, Won-young's gold hairpin, jewels, and clothes aren't cheap. It's really beautiful." As she spoke, her eyes lit up and her mouth was full of praise. She asked what the material was and what kind of hairpin it was. Suddenly, she grabbed Sang-won's hand and refused to let go. "Io, this gold bracelet is studded with so many jewels. It's really beautiful. TSK, whoever has one can use it as a family heirloom." As she spoke, she reached out to touch it, wishing that she could take it off Sang-won's wrist. Sang-won smiled vaguely and refused to take the initiative to offer it. Fong couldn't stand it anymore and pushed her hand away rudely. "Second Aunt Sang, how can Won-young eat like this? I'm not talking to you. Why are you interrupting?" Lee snorted unhappily and glared at Fong. "I say, you should go out and take a look. There are so many things waiting for you to take care of. You don't need to worry about our family's matters," Fong retorted coldly. Coincidentally, Xingji came back with the bowls and chopsticks. Sang-won saw Lee take the bowls and chopsticks with a smile. She stood up and said, "I'm a little tired and want to go back to my room to rest." "Eldest sister-in-law." Fong quickly smiled and said, "The room is clean and tidy. I'll send you there. Have a good rest." As she spoke, she pulled Sang-won away. "Won-young, why don't you sit and chat with Auntie? Why are you resting in the middle of the day? You'll fall sick if you rest too much." Lee saw that Sang-won was about to leave and quickly stood up to stop her. Xingji calmly stood in front of her and blocked her. She smiled and said, "Our young mistress is used to resting in the fu. She doesn't like to be disturbed at this time of the day. Auntie, please treat her to a meal." As she spoke, she hurriedly followed after her. Shameless, really shameless. Feng was furious. She glared at Sang-won and said, "Fortunately, you didn't fall into her trap. I say, you've learned a lot in the Shi family. You're acting like a young mistress now. If this was in the past, hee." Feng didn't say it out loud, but Sang-won knew what she meant. In the past, Sang-won had a gentle personality. With Lee's behavior, even if she was unwilling, she wouldn't be able to get over it. She would definitely take off the bracelet and give it to Lee. But today she didn't give it to her. Listen to what eldest sister-in-law is saying. Do I really not know right from wrong? Sang-won smiled. Sang-won secretly sighed. This was the lesson she had learned from her previous life. There were some people that couldn't be tolerated, connived, or backed down because they would never feel grateful. They would only think that you were easy to bully, and then take a mile when given an inch. I didn't say that. Feng quickly objected, and the two of them laughed. Lee couldn't help but feel annoyed. She angrily sat down and muttered, "She's the richest person in Qing province, but look at how stingy she is. She can't even bear to give a broken bracelet to her elders. How shameless." After the officials had eaten and drank to their heart's content, they left the Sang residence. Sang Hong, his brother Rijong, and the others sent them off. "Rijong elders, in 2 days, we plan to hold a banquet to invite the villagers to have a lively meal. When the time comes, please come." Sang Hong bowed to everyone and said with a smile. Everyone smiled and said that they naturally had to come. This was the glory of the entire village. Moreover, it was also a good opportunity to get some of the Jiyuan's talent. Rijong held Sang Hong's hand and said with a smile, "If there's anything you need help with, just let us know. This is a joyous occasion for our entire village. Everyone is willing to help." That's right, that's right." The elders all smiled and said. Ryo Kuwabara was also unperturbed. He arrogantly asked Sang Hong, "There's a lot of things to prepare. You're still young and inexperienced, so how would you know? Let me take charge. How could we trouble you with our family's matters?" Feng had just come out from inside. She couldn't bear listening to this and couldn't help but interrupt. "You're just a woman. What right do you have to interrupt? Rijong uncles, you've all seen it. This woman doesn't respect her elders and doesn't accept filial piety. How can someone like her be the sister-in-law of our Sang family's Jiyuan? Ahiro, you should divorce her as soon as possible." Ryo Kuwabara immediately shouted angrily with a stern face. Everyone at the table was very polite to him just now. He immediately regained his confidence and put on airs. "You." Feng was furious, but Sang Yufei signaled her to stop. Sang Yufei whispered to Shi Fengjiu, "Brother-in-law, I see that you're tired. Why don't you go back to your room and rest for a while?" It was really embarrassing for something like this to happen in the family. It wouldn't be good to make a fuss in front of outsiders. Shi Fengjiu also knew what he meant. He smiled and agreed. After bidding farewell to Rijong and everyone else, he walked back. "Aya, son-in-law, you can't leave." Ryo Kuwabara was suddenly energized. He grabbed Shi Fengjiu's arm and shouted, "Son-in-law, you're a polite person. You have to make a decision for this old man. Tell me, shouldn't Feng be divorced for being so disrespectful to her elders?" Everyone understood Shi Fengjiu's intention to avoid the matter. They also knew that it was for the best. It would save him the trouble of saying what he needed to say in front of everyone. Seeing Ryo Kuwabara act like this, they all felt disgusted. However, no one was as shameless as him and went forward to pull him away. Thus no one said anything. "That's not good." Shi Fengjiu smiled. He calmly pulled his arm out of Shi Fengjiu's grasp and said with a smile, "Rijong and the elders are already here. If you have anything to say, just ask them. As an outsider, I can't interfere. Aya, I'm feeling a little dizzy. I really need to take a rest. Forgive me for not keeping you company, everyone." "Young Master Shi, please." The crowd couldn't wait to say goodbye to Shi Fengjiu. They watched as Chang Huan helped him out. Ryo Kuwabara still wanted to pull him away, but Shi Ming and the others had already stopped him with a smile. "Umph." Ryo Kuwabara glared at the crowd and said, "What a great idea you have. Why, are you afraid that my niece-in-law will make a decision for me?" Rio Kuwabara couldn't wait to remove the word niece-in-law from niece-in-law. He thought that if the young master of the Sher family was his son-in-law, these people would be licking their faces and trying to curry favor with him. How would they dare to be so rude to him? Brother Sang, as a person, you have to have a conscience and be trustworthy. Written evidence in black and white is not a joke. If you continue to make a fuss, don't blame me for being ruthless and disregarding our relationship as fellow villagers. Rijong said coldly. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Rio Kuwabara went all out. He pointed at Fong and said coldly, this wicked woman disrespects her elders and doesn't follow the rules of filial piety. Instead of speaking up for me, you threatened her. How are you, Rijong? Are you worthy? Preposterous. A thin elder with white hair and beard, known as Uncle Lu, said angrily. Is there anyone who speaks like that? You've already severed ties with her, so why should she be filial to you? Look at how you're baring your fangs and brandishing your claws. Are you worthy of being filial to her? Let me tell you, it's not just Rijong, us old men are here too. Look at your attitude. The elders nodded. That's right. Have you helped the Hyro and his brothers at all these years? When Wan Yang got married, did you buy any dowry? Nothing at all. That's not all, but you're still trying to bully and take advantage of them. What kind of uncle are you? Oh, you're the one who insisted on severing ties with them. Now that they're rich, you're trying to put on airs and take advantage of them. Aren't you being too greedy? Aren't you all the same? Rio Kuwabara said angrily. Don't tell me you've taken care of them in the past? Aren't you still trying to take advantage of them now? Chapter 118. You. All the elders and Rijong were so angry that they couldn't say anything. Second uncle Sang. What are you talking about? Sang Yufei said coldly. The elders are not related to us brothers, but they are willing to help us judge and make decisions. This is the greatest care. Towards the elders, we brothers also sincerely respect them. When did they put on airs and take advantage of us? How come we didn't know? Shouldn't you think about yourself first before saying such things? Aiguan, don't say that. This is what we should do. Yes. All the elders were relieved when they heard this. You dare to talk back to me, you. Rio Kuwabara was angry. Enough. Uncle Lu said coldly. Rio Kuwabara, I'm warning you. You are not allowed to harass the Sang-hong brothers in the future. If you dare to be so shameless again, don't blame us for not being polite. Not being polite? What do you want? Rio Kuwabara sneered. Do you want to silence us? Come on, if you have the guts, come here and greet us. Whoever hides is a grandson. Rio Kuwabara shouted while pointing his finger at his own head. Everyone was angry and amused when they saw him acting so shamelessly. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei looked at each other and felt embarrassed. This was their uncle who was related to them by blood. Killing you would only dirty my hands. Uncle Lu rolled his eyes at him in disdain and said coldly, the people of Sai Village are simple and honest. We can't tolerate cunning, greedy, and tricky people. If you dare to make trouble again, then get out of Sai Village. Yes. You can try if you dare. All the elders were angry, and their expressions were cold. Sang Hong and Sang Hong's faces changed slightly. They didn't expect things to go this far. Rio Kuwabara's pupils suddenly shrank. They wanted to expel him from the village. This was a very serious consequence. It meant that from now on he would lose the protection of the village and become a rootless catkin without a fixed residence. No village would be willing to take in someone who had been expelled by another village. This kind of person was usually a black sheep, and keeping them would only add to the trouble. He could only take his family and wander far away in a foreign land. It would be an arduous process to start anew and reintegrate. Otherwise, they could live in the city. Once they left the land, even a blade of grass in the city would cost money. It wouldn't be easy to survive. How dare you? Rio Kuwabara was scared, but he still put on a strong front and sneered. Good. You're ganging up to bully me, a lone wolf. You guys are shameless. His conscience had been eaten by a dog. I'll report you to the yamen. You're rebelling. You're rebelling. Uncle Lu and the others shouted angrily. Today we've seen what it means to have no respect for your elders and elders. Just based on your words, Let's see if the yamen will help you or us. Do you want to go to the yamen? Go ahead, go ahead. No one's stopping you. Uncle Lu suddenly turned to Sang Hong and Sang Yufei and ordered in a deep voice. You guys don't have to pay attention to this person anymore. When you see him, go in and close the door. If anyone dares to say that you're disobedient and want to report you, you can come to this old man. This old man will make the decision for you. Yes, come to us. All the elders and Rizhong said in unison without hesitation. They didn't hide the disgust in their eyes as they glanced at Rio Kuwabara. All right. It's time for us old fellows to go back. You guys must be tired these 2 days. Go back and have a good rest. If there's anything, come to us for help. If we can help, we'll definitely help. Disperse. Uncle Lu took a deep breath and said with a smile. Everyone nodded and smiled as they cupped their hands and bid farewell. After watching everyone leave, Fong pulled Sang Hong's arm and gave Sang Yufei a look. The three of them pretended not to see Rio Kuwabara and went back into the courtyard, completely closing the door. In the late autumn afternoon, the sunlight was already very thin. It shone on the ground at an angle, making it seem somewhat desolate. Rio Kuwabara's face turned green and white. He gritted his teeth and said hatefully, Bastards, you're all bastards. Just wait and see. When I become rich, don't come and beg me. He raised his head and spat at Sang Hong's door. Rare. People say that the higher you climb, the harder you fall. I'll open my eyes wide and see how you fall one by one. After saying that, he snorted coldly and turned around to walk back to his house. He had never been so sullen in his life. The more Rio Kuwabara thought about it, the angrier he became. The two brats of the first branch really grew wings. Rio Kuwabara was so angry that after returning home, he vented his anger on Li and scolded her. Li felt wronged. Seeing that he was angry, she didn't dare to talk back. She could only endure the storm and wait for the strong wind and rain to pass. Then she raised her head and said, Master, it's fine if we don't fight for this title. In any case, the blood relationship between the two families can't run away. If something really happens to us, will they not care? I don't believe that if we don't have enough food to eat or money to pay for medical treatment, will they not care? If they really don't care, I'll sit in front of their house and see what they can do. Moreover, isn't there still Wan Yang? We didn't sever our relationship with Wan Yang. Rio Kuwabara was startled and his anger subsided a little. The old woman's words seemed to make sense. If they really didn't have food to eat, they didn't believe that they would watch their own uncle and aunt starve to death. As Rio Kuwabara said this, he couldn't wait to have no food at home next time. Unfortunately, he also knew that it was impossible. He felt that it made sense in his heart, but he refused to admit it. He said with a straight face, What title or no title, how can you say that? He couldn't help but feel his heart ache. That kid will receive many gifts this time. We won't be able to get anything. This isn't a big loss for us. Li also felt her heart ache. Humph. Rio Kuwabara coldly stared at her and said, Isn't it all because of you? If you weren't so mean and stingy in the past, how could there be today? Li said, Aren't you the same? You're even stingier than me. You said a lot of mean words. However, she didn't have the guts to argue with Rio Kuwabara. How does Wan Yang treat you? Rio Kuwabara suddenly asked. Very well. Li's face revealed a proud smile, and she praised. Wan Yang is different from those heartless people from the Sang family. She doesn't treat me as an outsider. Rio Kuwabara nodded. Curry favor with her and build a good relationship with her. Tonight, kill a chicken, prepare some good dishes, boil a pot of good wine, and invite the two of them over for dinner. Even if he couldn't control Sang Yufei, he couldn't control Sang Wan as well. That would really make him sullen to death. Okay then. Li felt her heart ache when she heard that she had to kill a chicken. Rio Kuwabara glared at her, so she didn't dare to say anything and could only agree. She thought to herself, it's not like they haven't eaten chicken before. Why would they care about this? Maybe they even like to eat the wild vegetables in the countryside, looking for something new. When the time comes, just cook half of the chicken and leave the other half for us to eat tomorrow. Sangwon entered the room to avoid Lee and wasn't really resting, so she only took off her outer robe and lay on the bed. Half of the blanket covered her chest, and she chatted and laughed with Xingji to relieve her boredom. Not long after, someone knocked on the door and asked if it was Fengju. Sangwon put on her clothes and got off the bed to welcome him. She smiled. "Why are you here? Where are my eldest brother and second brother?" "They have something to do." Fengju smiled vaguely. "I'm a little dizzy, so I came in to lie down." "Oh, then lie down quickly." Sangwon glanced at him suspiciously. The smell of alcohol on him wasn't strong, and he wasn't someone who couldn't drink. He must be trying to avoid something, right? Thinking of her purpose of entering the room, Sangwon couldn't help but laugh. She suddenly understood. "Hey, what are you laughing at?" Fengju lay down and looked up to see her laughing strangely. He couldn't help but ask curiously. "Nothing," Sangwon said. "Just lie down and rest for a while. I can't make you any hangover soup right now. Why don't I make a bowl of strong tea for you to drink?" Fengju smiled and nodded. He glanced at Xingji. "Ask Xingji to go." Xingji hurriedly bowed and went out. Sangwon sat on the stool in front of the bed and chatted with him intermittently. After about an hour, the two of them went out. Everyone tacitly stopped talking about Ryo Kuwabara and Lee. They only talked about the arrangements for the banquet the day after tomorrow and Sang Yufei's plans after he passed the imperial examinations. "I think we should let Chong Huan and Auntie Lee take the carriage back to town. We can buy all the ingredients and condiments we need in these 2 days, and bring the Spring Crane restaurant chef back the day after tomorrow. It's cheaper." Fengju said. Sang Hong had already heard from his wife about his younger sister and brother-in-law's intentions, so he didn't refuse. He sincerely thanked him. "I'll have to trouble brother-in-law." "Big brother, you don't have to be so polite." Fengju smiled and said. "I'm just saying a few words. If you really feel bad about it, you can just reward the servants who did the work." The more people there were, the easier it would be to talk. The servants of the Shi family worked for the Sang family. Although they didn't dare disobey their master's orders, they would inevitably feel dissatisfied if they didn't get rewarded. It wouldn't be good for the Sang family and Sangwon when they returned. That was why Fengju said that. Yes. Sang Hong nodded and smiled. "That's for sure. When the time comes, we'll definitely reward them handsomely. Not a single one of them will be left behind." As he spoke, he gave some instructions to Fong. Fong hurriedly agreed with a smile. She thought about privately discussing with Sangwon how much she should reward each person. She couldn't let others gossip behind her back. "Oh right, I'm afraid that in the next 2 days, the gentry and noble families of the 4 villages and 8 towns will pay us a visit." Fengju pondered for a moment, then raised his head to look at Sang Hong and Sang Yufei. He smiled and said, "I'm sure that big brother and second brother know that these people won't come empty-handed. How do you plan to deal with them?" "Second brother, you are the one who got the GUN, so they're coming for you. Big brother won't interfere in this matter. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about big brother. As long as it's your decision, big brother will support it." Sang Hong was also an educated person, so he naturally understood that the gentry and noble families came to befriend them. However, they didn't befriend them for nothing. After all, who knew how they would repay them in the future? Chapter 119. Sang Yufei unconsciously frowned. After a while he said, "Big brother, brother-in-law, I still have to participate in the examination next year. There are good and bad people everywhere. I think it's better if..." Sang Hong already understood what he meant. He nodded and said, "If they come to congratulate us, we welcome them and treat them with respect. Since they've given us gifts, then we should reject them." "I think so too." Sang Yufei immediately let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he didn't say anything earlier was because he felt that his big brother and sister-in-law should be able to follow him and enjoy a good life. But if he rejected them, then there would be nothing left. "That's not appropriate." Fengju shook his head and said, "We're family, so I'll be direct. Second brother is afraid that despicable and treacherous people will ruin his reputation. But in the end, we're all from the same village. If you reject their good intentions, It will make people think that you're arrogant and think that you're above everyone else. With all due respect, this isn't a good thing for second brother. This can't be right? Sang Hong was stunned. Can't I accept their gifts even if I don't want to? Brother-in-law is right. Sang Yufei's expression changed slightly, and he secretly broke out in a cold sweat. The reputation of being arrogant and aloof often meant that one was unsociable and unsociable. How could one become an official in the future? It wouldn't be enough to offend people. We didn't consider it thoroughly enough. This matter, Sang Yufei frowned. Fine, we'll accept their gifts first. We'll just prepare a gift in return later. Shi Fengju secretly nodded when he heard him say this. He thought that if second brother could think this way, then he would definitely be able to fight for a career in the government. If he had the same opinion as his big brother, then he would advise him not to get involved in the government. Otherwise, he would be oppressed and bullied in the future. If he accidentally offended someone, his life would be in danger. When you return the gift, you should be less generous than when they sent it. This way, they'll know that you appreciate their kindness. Shi Fengju said with a smile. Brother-in-law is right. Sang Yufei smiled and nodded. Sang Hong sighed and said, younger brother-in-law is experienced and knowledgeable. Your thinking is more thorough. I really don't understand these things. Forget it. You two can discuss it as you see fit. As long as it's good for Yufei, I have no objections. Big brother. Sang Yufei looked at Sang Hong gratefully, his heart filled with warmth. Shi Fengju continued. That's not all. I'm afraid there will be a lot of people coming one after another to become slaves. These people. Shi Fengju raised his eyebrows. Most of them are cunning and opportunistic people. Keeping them will only do more harm than good. We should reject them properly. If the family needed servants, they would rather spend more effort to buy them from a reliable broker. It would save them a lot of trouble. If my two brothers don't think too much, just let me know if you need to buy someone in the future. The Shi family was naturally familiar with the brothels in Qingzhou City, and the Shi family's butler had his own way of selecting people. Sang Yufei quickly smiled and said, look at what younger brother-in-law is saying. When the time comes, we will naturally have to trouble younger brother-in-law. Thank you in advance. Second brother is too polite. Shi Fengju also smiled and nodded. As the three of them discussed, Fong was in a corner, talking to Sang Wan while sewing the shawls. The Sang siblings Luya and Xingji were in the courtyard, laughing and playing around. I think our family's son-in-law is really not bad. He's really considerate. It's rare. Fong nudged Sang Wan with her elbow and sighed. Sister-in-law. Sang Wan could only smile in return. I've always been a person who only speaks the truth. Fong sighed and said, our family's son-in-law still treats us like this despite his family background. He's much better than many people in this world. Wan Yang, you're really lucky. Sang Wan stammered, and the smile on her face was a little unnatural. It was impossible to say that she didn't feel guilty. Compared to her previous life, he was much nicer to her, including to her family. However, he was only ambiguous like this, and his eyes sometimes seemed to be burning her until her face turned red and her heart beat faster. He had never said anything clearly, so what was the meaning of this? There was also Gu Fangzi, who was always a thorn in her heart. Thinking about how she could cause so much trouble when she was still in her mourning period. She believed that the day her mourning period ended would be the day she officially declared war on her. When that time comes, would he still treat her the same way as now? Gu Fangzi had been in the Shi family for many years, and was raised by her mother-in-law like a biological daughter. She was also his childhood sweetheart, and they were childhood sweethearts. She had everything, but Shi Fangzi had nothing. No, she still had a sister-in-law who, for some reason, disliked her no matter what. She would always pick on her whenever she wanted to. Sang Wan's eyes darkened, and she sighed silently. By the way, Fong did not notice the change in her mood and asked softly, are you pregnant? Ah, what? Sang Wan was so distracted that she did not hear it. It was only when Fong nudged her again that she asked blankly. Fong stared at her with a smile and said, What? I'm asking you if you're pregnant? Yes, no. Sang Wan was stunned for a moment before she understood what she was asking. She could not help but blush and gently shake her head. You. Fong anxiously pushed her and said, "Don't treat it like it's nothing. Did you get a doctor to take a look? Their sure family is not short of money. Get a doctor to take a look, and eat more of those nourishing herbs on a daily basis. I don't think our son-in-law is someone who can't bear to spend this money. Your mother-in-law can't say anything, right? Isn't this for their sure family's grandson?" "All right, sister-in-law. I know. The more Sangwon listened, the more uncomfortable she felt. She quickly smiled and said, You really don't know what to do. Why don't you make people worry?" Fong snorted and said, "While that vixen cousin is still mourning, you have to give birth to the child quickly. You're the legal wife, and you have a son by your side. You also have a brother who took the GUN exam. That vixen can't do anything to you even if she has the means to do so." "I'll remember sister-in-law's words." Sangwon only wanted to end this topic quickly, so she quickly agreed. She glanced outside and said, "I think it's getting late. Sister-in-law, what should we eat tonight?" Fong glared at her and suddenly laughed. "Don't worry, I won't let your young master suffer. Look at how anxious you are." Sangwon was speechless and could only smile in tacit agreement. "All right, it's getting late. I'll go cook. Help me keep an eye on those two children, and don't let them fool around," Fong said as she got up. "Xiaonuan and Xiaoquan are so obedient. How could they fool around?" Sangwon said with a smile. "Those two cows. Forget it. Don't praise them," Fong said as she got up and patted her clothes. Sangwon couldn't help but giggle. She also got up and went out, standing at the door to watch the siblings play. Unexpectedly, before it was time for dinner, Li came knocking on the door with Sang Yan. She was all smiles and wanted to invite Shi Fengju and Sangwon over for dinner. Shi Fengju was afraid of their family, and found an excuse to leave, letting the siblings deal with it themselves. Li was easier to get rid of than Rio Kuwabira. With the elders and Ri Zhang around, one Fong was enough to get rid of her. "How can our biological younger sister and brother-in-law go over to your house for dinner? If word gets out, people will point at our backs and gossip, saying that we don't act like siblings and sisters-in-law. We can't afford such a bad reputation." Fong unceremoniously pushed and shoved her out, then locked the door from the inside. Li didn't even have a chance to speak to Sangwon before she was pushed out. She was so angry that she banged on the door, shouting loudly as she did so. Fong ignored her and pretended not to hear her. Li didn't manage to open the door. Instead, the neighbors opened their doors, pointing at her and shaking their heads. Mother, let's go back. Sang Yin was so embarrassed that her face was flushed red. She anxiously tugged at Li's sleeve. Go back? Madame Li forcefully pointed her finger at her daughter's forehead and hatefully said, "You're a good-for-nothing. You can't do anything." "Mother, what does this have to do with me?" Sang Yin felt wronged and began to cry. She covered her face and turned to run home. "Damn girl. Even you dare to give this old lady bad luck. You crawled out of this old lady's intestines, so this old lady can't say anything about you. Where did you learn to be so frivolous? Rebel. Li scolded. In the end, she couldn't do anything to Fong and could only angrily turn to go home. "You didn't invite them?" Rio Kuwabira's face darkened. He gritted his teeth and said, "Good. Ruthless. What does it have to do with them that I invited Shi Fengju and Wan Yang? If they have the ability, they won't open the door for the rest of their lives." She left. The noise outside the door stopped. Fong came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. Luya couldn't wait any longer. She rushed forward and looked outside through the crack in the door. When she heard this, she turned around and nodded at Fong. "She won't be leaving. Don't worry, Aunt. Humph, this kind of person. We should have dealt with her earlier. Ai, at least you have a conscience. You can tell right from wrong." Fong laughed loudly. "Of course. I've always disliked her." Luya raised her head. In the past, Li had often scolded her and Sangwon. She would occasionally ask her to help her with work, and even threaten to sell her off. She had always been scared to death. She had been with Sangwon for so many years. The two of them were like sisters. How could she bear to leave? Hee, good girl. Your daughter didn't dote on you for nothing. Fong laughed again and turned to go into the kitchen. After dinner, everyone sat for a while. Everyone was a little tired and went to rest. Chang Huan and the other servants who had come to help had all gone to town. It was easy to make arrangements for the night's sleep, considering that there might be people coming to visit tomorrow. Ming stayed behind to help carry things or run errands. At night, he slept on the floor in Sang Yufei's room. After all, their statuses were different now. It was inconvenient for Sang Yufei to do some things himself. Sang Hong was his brother, so it was even more inconvenient. Sang Quan went to sleep with his father, leaving his room empty for Xingji and Luya. Fong squeezed in with Mother Su and Sang Wan. Sang Wan and Shifengju slept in the room that Sang Wan used to sleep in. Everyone else was fine, but when the door closed, Sang Wan realized the problem. How was she going to sleep with a blanket? She glanced at Shifengju and her face turned red. Chapter 120. Shifengju hadn't realized what was going on until he saw his wife's bashful expression. He subconsciously felt a bit excited and amused. He pursed his lips and deliberately didn't mention it. He wanted to see how she would react. It's getting late. Let's go to bed early. We still have things to do tomorrow. Shifengju said indifferently as usual. But, Sang Wan frowned. There's only one quilt. How can we sleep? It's okay. We'll just make do with it. Now was the perfect time to play dumb. You. Sang Wan's eyes reddened and she turned around. What did he mean by that? According to the contract, he was going to divorce her next year and send her away from the Shi family. He was going to spend the rest of his life with his beloved cousin. How could he say such shameless words at this time? What did he think of her, Sang Wan, as? Shifengju was also anxious. He hurriedly grabbed her arm and said, Wan Yang, I didn't mean anything else. I'm sorry. Don't be angry. Shifengju's eyes darkened. It seemed that she was determined to keep her distance from him and leave him. He had tested her so many times, but her attitude hadn't changed at all. Wan Yang, oh Wan Yang, can't you feel how I feel about you? I want to be with you forever and be at the same level as you. Only you. Sang Wan raised her handkerchief to wipe her tears. She turned around and shook off his hand. Wan Yang, I'm sorry. Don't be angry. I was just joking. Shifengju smiled bitterly and kept apologizing. His hands, which were hanging by his side, tightened. Wan Yang, oh Wan Yang, as long as I don't let you go, you won't be able to leave. Even if you're a rock, I'll warm you up. It was just a joke. Sang Wan's heart was filled with uneasiness. So it was just a joke. Her heart had been slightly moved at that moment. It turned out that she had been overthinking things. Where are you going? Shifengju was shocked to see her leave, so he hurriedly pulled her back. I'm going to ask my sister-in-law for a quilt, Sang Wan said angrily. She shook him off forcefully and left in a fit of pique. Shifengju paused for a moment, then smiled. She was angry. She even looked a little jealous. Oh, was he thinking too much? Shifengju rubbed his nose. But no matter what, he felt relieved when he saw her angry look. When Sang Wan came in with a quilt, Shifengju had already returned to normal. He hurriedly took it with a smile and said, Wan Yang, the floor is cold. Sang Wan did not say anything. She got on the bed with her clothes on and said, It's quite cold at night in the countryside. Be careful not to catch a cold. You sleep here. Compared to the Shi family, the floor was covered with a thick carpet and there was no mattress for him to sleep on. Sang Wan did not dare to let him sleep on the floor. If he were to catch a cold, Wang Shi would definitely be annoyed if one of the servants were to find out about it. Not to mention the distant ones. Even her own brother and sister-in-law would blame her for not taking good care of him. Besides, she was not so vicious as to watch him catch a cold and fall sick. Okay. Shifengju smiled. He put the quilt on the bed, took off his shoes and got on the bed. He closed the curtains and lay down gently, sighing comfortably. Sleeping on the bed was still the most comfortable. He had not slept on a bed for a long time. He originally wanted to say these words from the bottom of his heart, but he was afraid that Sang Wan would be embarrassed, so he only sighed. Sang Wan was not stupid. She naturally understood the meaning behind his sigh. She quickly closed her eyes and turned her head to the inside. Speaking of which, she felt a little apologetic. Although he was the one who volunteered to sleep on the floor on the night of their wedding, she did not expect that he would be able to persist for so long. She thought that he would find an excuse to sleep in the study room after a few days. That night, Shi Fengju slept very soundly. Although he did not dare to cross the line, touch her, hug her, or kiss her, she was sleeping on the same bed as him. He could see her when he turned his head, and he could smell her faint fragrance when he breathed, which made him feel particularly happy. He never knew that he was such an easily satisfied person. Just lying quietly with her like this, he felt incomparable happiness. His heart was stuffed to the brim. On the contrary, Sangwon did not sleep well the whole night. It was not because she was worried that Shi Fengju would do something to her. She still trusted his character. It was because there was a man beside her that she could neither advance nor retreat. It made her feel very conflicted. She did not even dare to move, and she tried her best to hold her breath. In the dark night, Sangwon could hear his even breathing, and she could feel his warm breath on her cheeks and neck. This made Sangwon even more upset, and only after a long while did she fall asleep in a daze. When she woke up, the sky was already bright. Sangwon gently opened her eyes and found that Shi Fengju's head had come close, almost resting on her shoulder. He was sleeping soundly, and her neck was touched by his breath. Sangwon was so scared that her body went limp. She glanced at him and saw that he was still sleeping with his eyes closed. She hurriedly calmed her racing heart and gently moved in. She let out a long sigh of relief, sat up gently, and reached out to push his quilt. Eldest young master, get up. Shi Fengju had actually woken up when she moved, but he was afraid that she would be embarrassed and did not dare to open his eyes. In all honesty, he did not really want to take advantage of her, but he did not know how he got close to her. Wan Yang would not blame him for being frivolous, right? After all, he was asleep and did not know, right? Shi Fengju secretly hated himself. Why did he pretend to be husband and wife when they got married? But now he had put himself in a trap. He could not take it off even if he wanted to. She was clearly his legal wife, but he could not even touch her. And Shi Fengju pretended to open his eyes in a daze and blinked. Oh, it's so bright. He sat up with a smile and asked, "Did you sleep well last night?" Sangwon nodded vaguely and said softly, "Move aside, I'll go down and get your clothes." Okay. Shi Fengju moved aside, and Sangwon got out of bed. She took the clothes from the bundle and helped him put them on. When Luya woke up in the morning, she rolled up her sleeves and helped Feng Shi with all the chores in the kitchen. She let Jita wait at the door to serve the two of them. Xingji heard some movement in the room and gently knocked on the door. "Young master, young mistress." When Sangwon opened the door, Xingji saw that they were already dressed. She smiled and said, "This servant has been waiting at the door since early in the morning. Young mistress, why didn't you tell this servant to do it yourself? This servant will go and get some water to wash your face." When the two finished freshening up and came out, Sang Hong and Sang Yufei were also up. They sat down and chatted for a while before eating breakfast. Not long after breakfast, people came to visit them one after another. Squire Lu from the neighboring Lu village, the Wan family from Yanglu Bay, and Moneybags Zhou from Shaowan village. In the afternoon, many people from the town and neighboring villages came. Some of them were the masters of the household, while others sent their sons or housekeepers. All of them brought generous gifts such as silver, fields, houses, servants, antiques, paintings, ginseng, bird's nest, silk, and so on. Luya and Xingji were in charge of serving tea to the guests. Shi Ming was in charge of receiving and delivering the gifts in an orderly manner. Everyone knew that it wasn't just their own family who had come to pay a visit. Seeing that top scorer Sang had accepted the gifts, they happily sat down for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before taking their leave, saying that they would meet again in the future. Sang Yufei thanked them and accepted the other gifts. Only the servants and houses were rejected. The person who came tried to persuade them, saying that the people who were sent were honest people who knew how to handle matters. If they did not like them, they could just sell them. However, when he saw Shi Fengju smiling at the side, he understood. What kind of servants did the Shi family not have? There was no need to use the people they sent. Looking at the two ladies who were serving tea and pouring water, the way they acted was even more appropriate than the young ladies of wealthy families. Also, the servant who led the way did not look like he came from an ordinary wealthy family. As for the house, Sang Yufei said that he was living well in Sai village and would not leave. That house was useless to him, so he rejected it. The person who came did not insist and only thought about giving another big gift later. The Sang family was busy receiving the guests and receiving the gifts. On the other side, Ryo Kuwabara and Lee were so jealous that they could not sit still. Ryo Kuwabara was shocked by Uncle Lu and the others, so he did not dare to go and cause trouble. However, he was not willing to leave empty-handed. At night, he sent Lee over to try and get a share of the pie. Sang Hong was helpless when he saw this. He sighed to Sang Yufei and said, "Don't worry about anything. Just give them a little. Otherwise, when will this end? It will be a joke if people see it. Then wouldn't we be letting them take advantage of us for nothing?" Fong was not convinced. Sang Yufei smiled bitterly and sighed. "Big brother is right. We can be ruthless, but we can't be too ruthless. After all, we are a family connected by blood." Fong was speechless. Although Ryo Kuwabara and his wife went overboard, and the two families were indeed separated, blood was destined. There was no choice and no way to cut it off. If they really went overboard, it was hard to say if the villagers' attitude would change. They would think that they were too cold-blooded. More or less, there had to be some meaning. People could only be called human when they had human feelings. "Enough. You guys don't have to do anything. I'll go." Fong patted her chest. If they wanted to give it, then so be it. It was hard for the brothers to say anything, but she could. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei thought about it and agreed. Thus, Fong took 100 taels of silver, 2 bolts of cloth, and half a jean of bird's nest. Together with Luya, she sent it over. When Lee and Ryo Kuwabara saw that she took the initiative to come over, they immediately became complacent and began to nitpick again, complaining that the things were too little. Fong sneered. "You think it's too little? How much should second Uncle Sang and second Aunt Sang get when we return the gifts to the various families in a few days? Do you want us to look for Ri Zhang and Uncle Lu to judge?" Only then did the two of them shut up. "Ai Luya, quickly invite Wan Yang to our house. We have always treated her as our own niece. She can't be so heartless like others." Lee called out to Luya. Chapter 121. Listening to one more word from them would shorten his life. Feng Shi rolled her eyes silently, turned around, and left first. Luya was no longer the Luya of the past. She smiled and said, "Is that so? When my young mistress got married, I remember that second old mistress Sang did not even give her anything to add to her dowry. To treat your own niece like this, you can be considered the number one person in the world." "You." Lee was instantly enraged. "Impudent. A little girl like you dares to talk back to me. How dare you? I'm just a little girl. I'm not even part of your family. It's not up to you to lecture me. You asked me a question and I answered it. How is that talking back to you? How dare you lecture me? Who are you to me?" Luya sneered. "I advise the both of you to stop. Don't think that everyone is a fool. For the Shi family to be able to earn such a fortune today, none of them are fools. I'll tell you the truth. My young master hates greedy and shameless people the most. How could he let young mistress come here to be tainted with bad luck? If you know what's good for you, don't bother our young mistress anymore. Otherwise, Kiki, if young master doesn't have some tricks up his sleeves, how could the Shi family's hundreds of shops spread across both sides of the canal and tens of thousands of subordinates listen to him respectfully? You. Ryo Kuwabara was trembling with anger. "Who taught you to say these words?" "Ah. I say, second old master Sang, you're actually quite smart. It's better not to let others point out some things, or else you won't be able to keep your face." Luya said coldly. "It's whoever you think it is. What's important is that you listen to my words. Otherwise I don't know what will happen." Ryo Kuwabara was shocked and angry. He was sure that it was Shi Fengjiu who made Luya say those words. He did not expect that this person was actually was actually, don't think that this world belongs to their Sure family. Humph. Isn't he afraid that I'll spread these words and ruin his reputation? Luya laughed as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. Well, if you want to say it, just say it. Our young master has never been alone with you before, right? I didn't say anything to you. You're spreading rumors. You're going to jail. What's more, you want to influence our young master. Are you crazy? Forget it. I really have nothing to say to someone like you. Take your time. I'll take my leave first. After saying that, Luya giggled. She turned around and left, ignoring them. Rio Kuwabara slumped back into his chair. His clenched fists were still trembling, and he was breathing heavily. Outrageous. Preposterous. This bastard. Cursing was one thing, but he was truly afraid. The only reason he dared to challenge the Sang brothers was because of his identity as their uncle, and because he was used to bullying them, so he was full of confidence. The moment the Sang brothers refused to listen to him, he became mentally unbalanced and became angry out of shame. Moreover, Sang Yufei had no choice but to cherish his reputation. However, Shi Fengju was different. He had nothing to threaten them with. If they said that they would not acknowledge him, then they would not acknowledge him. If he angered them, they could just order their subordinates to move a finger. If he suffered a loss, he would not even have a place to cry out. Rio Kuwabara was finally scared witless. After 2 days of bustling traffic at Sang Hong's house, a banquet was held to entertain the villagers. Strangely, Rio Kuwabara and his wife, as well as Sang Ro and her sister, did not come. Sang Hong asked Fong to invite them. Fong was too lazy to go to their house alone, so she called a neighbor sister-in-law to go with her. Unexpectedly, Rio Kuwabara and his wife ate the wrong medicine, and found an excuse to not come. How could the Sang Hong brothers know that they were scared by Luya's words? They asked someone to send a few bowls of food over, which they accepted. Thus, the villagers could not help but sigh and praise the Sang brothers for being humane and tolerant. After a few days of bustling about, the matter finally came to an end. Shi Fengju and Sang Wan also had to return to Qingzhou. Before leaving, Sang Wan was very reluctant. She repeatedly said to Sang Yufei, "Second brother, when you pass by Qingzhou on your way to the capital, remember to come and see me." The capital was thousands of miles away from here. The journey was filled with wind, frost, rain, and snow. Just thinking about it made one feel uneasy. Don't worry. I'll go. Furthermore, I promised Aunt to exchange pointers with Brother Feng Hua. I'll definitely go. Sang Yufei smiled. That's good. Sang Wan was finally relieved. She smiled and said, "Then we'll be waiting for you in the middle of the 10th month. Second brother, Shi Fengju smiled and said, "You'll be staying in the capital for a few months. It'll be inconvenient if you don't have someone to take care of you. This attendant is different from other servants. If you can't find a suitable one, it'll only make things worse. If you don't mind, Ming can follow you in the future." This. Sang Yufei couldn't help but look at Ming. Seeing Ming nod at him and grin, he knew that Shi Fengju had already told Ming about it. Second brother, please accept brother-in-law's kindness. I see that Ming is very efficient and quick-witted. It's just that I'll owe brother-in-law another favor. Sang Hong smiled and cupped his hands. He was a little worried about his younger brother going so far away by himself. Furthermore, Ming had been running around to help him the past few days. He was indeed a very smart and honest person. This little one thanks brother-in-law for the praise. Ming smiled and bowed. Everyone laughed when they saw this. Big brother, don't be so polite. Then it's settled. Shi Fengju scolded Ming with a smile. You're quite quick-witted. Listen carefully, from today onwards, you're no longer a member of the Shi family. You'll be second Master Sang's attendant. Quickly pay your respects to your new master. Do your job well and don't embarrass me. Yes, young master. Ming hurriedly kowtowed to Sang Yufei and acknowledged him as his master. He couldn't bear to part with his old master. After getting up, he looked at Shi Fengju and asked, "Will this servant still be able to see young master in the future?" What nonsense! Shi Fengju was both angry and amused. He said, "Our families are in-laws. It'll be difficult for you to not see me in the future. I'm curious, what's in that head of yours? He then turned to Sang Yufei and said, Second brother, Shi Ming will be your attendant from now on. If there's any servant who bullies his master, acts impudently, or disobeys the rules, punish him or sell him. You don't have to worry about me. Brother-in-law's servant will definitely not be like that. You're thinking too much. However, I'll remember these words. Sang Yufei smiled. This servant will definitely serve second master well. Young master, please rest assured. Shi Ming straightened his back and made a solemn vow. Among Shi Fengju's trusted servants, Chang Huan was mainly in charge of external affairs. Shi Ming, on the other hand, was more in charge of serving in the study room. Previously, Shi Fengju had ordered him to serve Ren Jixian. However, he had been despised by Ren Jixian. Shi Ming was extremely angry in his heart. He thought to himself, I'm a professional. I've served young master for so many years, and young master has never said anything about it. Why is it that when it comes to you, everything is wrong? Now that he was following Sang Yufei, Shi Ming swore to himself that he would not let Sang Yufei say anything bad about him. He thought to himself, do you think I'm not worthy of serving in the study room? Now that I'm following Duke Ji Yuan, who knows, I might even become the top scholar next year. When the time comes, you'll know whether or not I, Shi Ming, will be serving in the study room. After Shi Fengju and Sang Wan left, the Sang family began to count the gifts they had received over the past few days. Yiqing, who didn't know, jumped in fright. After half a day of hard work, it was clear that there were nearly 1,000 mu of fertile land, more than 4,000 taels of gold and silver, and about 200 to 300 pieces of antiques, paintings, utensils, ginseng, bird's nest, silk clothing, shoes and hats. It was impossible to estimate their value in such a short time. The family couldn't help but worry. How would they prepare a gift in return if they didn't know how much the gifts were worth? Furthermore, the gold and silver could be used to buy gifts for others. However, it was inconvenient to give a gift to another family. Moreover, whether a few thousand taels of silver was enough, or how to buy the gifts was a matter of knowledge. Furthermore, it was unlikely that they would be able to buy anything good in Willow Town. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Returning a gift was actually so difficult. However, this matter couldn't wait. In another month, Sang Yufei would have to leave for the capital. He would have to stay at the Shi family for at least 8 to 10 days. In that case, he would have to leave by the end of October at the latest. First master, second master, please don't be anxious. Shi Ming smiled and said, Young master has instructed this servant that he will send someone over in 2 days' time. The Shi household has yet to send second master a congratulatory gift. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei's hearts instantly relaxed. They couldn't help but sigh. Thank goodness brother-in-law is here. Otherwise, this matter would have been difficult to handle. Sang Hong then instructed Sang Yufei, when you go to the Shi family, you must learn from the Shi family's third young master. Consider it as repaying brother-in-law. Don't worry, big brother. Third young master and I hit it off very well. We have a good chat. Sang Yufei smiled. That's good. Then I'm relieved. Sang Hong smiled. He was originally a little worried that the third young master of the Sang family would inevitably be arrogant and have a young master's temper. He was thinking of instructing his second brother to treat the third young master well for the sake of his brother-in-law. Who would have thought that the two of them would hit it off? Oh right. Fong suddenly smiled. Yesterday, Auntie Wang from Willow Bay came to talk to me. Second brother, you're not young anymore. Previously you were afraid of being affected by your studies. Now that you've passed the GUN, our whole family can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Isn't it time to consider marriage? I heard from Auntie Wang that there are quite a few girls who are not bad. Your sister-in-law is right. Sang Hong nodded. This matter should be considered. Wan Yang now has someone to rely on for the rest of her life. That's one less thing for me to worry about. You've also married and started a family. Big brother can finally be at ease. That Auntie Wang probably wouldn't dare to casually introduce you to anyone. Since she said that they should be good, we should also ask around and settle this matter. No need, no need. Who knew that Sang Yufei, who had always respected his big brother and sister-in-law, would jump up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He hurriedly refused. Please don't. Big brother, sister-in-law, I don't want to think about this right now. Let's wait until after the general examinations. I'm not asking you to get married right now. I just want you to take a look at the girl first. If she's really not bad, then settle down first and wait for you to come back next year before getting married. This good girl won't wait for anyone. If you miss it, then you miss it. Fong smiled. Don't worry. Sister-in-law isn't a greedy person. She won't casually book you. I'll definitely ask around about the girl's character and appearance. Chapter 122. I don't mean anything else. Sang Yufei hurriedly said. Of course I trust sister-in-law. But I really don't want to talk about marriage now. Big brother, sister-in-law, if anyone asks you to help me reject them. No matter what, we'll talk about it after the exam next spring. Sang Yufei laughed self-deprecatingly. Maybe I'll fail the exam. The girl's family will look down on me and want to break off the engagement. Wouldn't it be ugly then? Nonsense. Ba, don't jinx it. Sang Hong and Fong both stared at him. How can you say that? Who would say that about themselves? Sang Hong was dissatisfied. That's right. Fong also said. If you're worried about this, don't worry. Even if you don't pass the exam, no one will dare to look down on you just because of GUN. Besides, just because you don't pass next year doesn't mean you won't pass in the future. Isn't that right? You're not young anymore. If you don't think about it, when will it happen? Once it's settled, we can help you prepare at home. There's really no need. Sang Yufei was anxious, but he tried his best to be calm and patient. Maybe there'll be a better marriage in the future. Why be anxious now? I really don't have the mood right now. Sang Hong and Fong looked at each other, confused. Did this kid take the wrong medicine? Why was he suddenly so anxious? They had never seen him lose his composure like this. Second younger brother, do you have a girl in mind? Fong sure was more perceptive than Sang Hong. She rolled her eyes and asked with a smile. No. Sister-in-law, what are you saying? How could it be? Sang Yufei quickly shook his head to deny it. Fong was even more certain that there was a problem. She smiled and said, if there really is one, then it's nothing. If that's the case, you can tell sister-in-law which family she belongs to. Sister-in-law will send a matchmaker to propose marriage and settle this matter. Won't you be at ease then? Sister-in-law, Sang Yufei smiled bitterly. I study in the academy every day. How would I know any girls? I'm really not in the mood right now. Sang Hong and Fong tried to persuade him again and again, but Sang Yufei just wouldn't listen. The couple had no choice but to give in to him. In the carriage, Sang Wan was very grateful to Shi Fengju for everything he had done for the Sang family. She attentively served him tea and snacks. I've delayed young master for a few days. Is there anything wrong with the business? Sang Wan asked with a smile. I won't. I've already told them before I came. If there's really an emergency, someone will come on a fast horse to inform me. Don't worry. Shi Fengju smiled. That's good. Sang Wan smiled and said. Otherwise, it would make people feel bad. Shi Fengju sighed and said, but after we go back, we still have to be busy for a while. After all, there are some things that are inconvenient for the people below to make decisions, so they can only be put aside for the time being. Sang Wan immediately looked a little apologetic. Wouldn't that be very difficult? That's right. Shi Fengju rubbed his temples. The Shi family is such a big business. There are no less than a few hundred big and small matters added up in a day. It can't be helped even if it's hard. Who told me to be the eldest son of my parents? Sang Wan couldn't help but sympathize with him. Young master, you can just leave such matters to the people below. Don't tire yourself out. You haven't had a good rest these few days. You have to take it easy when you go back. It won't be fun if you fall sick. No. Shi Fengju gave her a meaningful glance and smiled. I've actually had a good rest these few days. Really? I've been lying with you every night. I'm afraid that tonight I'll have to. Shi Fengju subconsciously raised his eyebrows. After eating meat for a few days, It seemed a little unbearable to go back and eat vegetables. Sangwon was stunned at first. When she came back to her senses and saw the meaning in his eyes, she couldn't help but blush and glare at him. Shifengju saw her charming and cute eyes and his heart itched. He couldn't help but want to reach out and touch her face, but he didn't dare to be rash. He coughed and jokingly asked, "I've helped your family so much. Don't you want to repay me?" Repay? Sangwon's heart skipped a beat. She should repay him, but how would you like me to repay you, young master? Sangwon asked with a smile, but her heart was a little nervous. She didn't know what he would ask for. Shifengju raised his head and thought for a moment. He smiled and said, "Actually, it's nothing much. Why don't you personally cook a few dishes for me?" "Of course." Sangwon relaxed and quickly said with a smile, "I'll personally cook a few dishes for young master tomorrow night." "Okay." Shifengju smiled and said, "You don't have to cater to my taste. Just cook what you're best at." Sangwon thought for a moment and said with a smile, "I don't seem to have any dishes that I'm best at. I'll just cook what young master likes. It's just that it's not as good as the chef's, so don't dislike it." The two chatted and laughed along the way. The carriage was light and fast, so it didn't take long for them to arrive at the Shi family. The carriage drove through the second gate. Shifengju got off the carriage first and naturally reached out to help Sangwon. Sangwon was surprised, but calmly put her hand over his and helped him get off the carriage. "Let's go back and change first. Later, we'll go pay our respects to mother." As soon as Shifengju finished speaking, Sangwon smiled and nodded. Before she could say anything, Gufangzi elegantly walked over. She gracefully bent her knees and bowed. Her eyes were full of smiles as she said, "Big cousin, big sister, you're back." The smile on Sangwon's face froze. Her high spirits seemed to be covered by a layer of shadow. She smiled and nodded at her. "Why are you here, little sister?" Gufangzi glanced at Shifengju affectionately, but she took the initiative to support Sangwon's arm. She smiled softly and said, "I heard that big cousin and big sister were back, so I came to pick you up. Is big sister's family all right? You were gone for a few days, so Aunt missed you. We'll go pay our respects to mother later. If there's nothing else, you can go back first." Shifengju frowned. He didn't know why, but her voice and smile, which used to be so delicate and lovely, were now not pleasing to the eye. It was as if her face was covered with a layer of fake skin. "Then I won't disturb big cousin and big sister." Gufangzi smiled softly and turned to leave. Shifengju and Sangwon were silent the whole way. What was there would always be there. Temporarily avoiding it didn't mean it had disappeared. Sangwon's mouth slowly became bitter. After returning to Ning Garden, the two freshened up and went to Wang's place. When Wang saw them come back, she couldn't help but smile and ask them questions. When she heard Shifengju and Sangwon talk about how lively it was, she was even happier. She couldn't help but smile and sigh. "I don't know if our Fenghua will pass the next provincial examination. It would be great if he did." "Mother, don't worry. Third brother is so smart, so he will definitely pass. Maybe he can also pass the GUN exam," Yume said with a smile. It's good that he can pass. It's good that he can. When the time comes, our family will also be lively." "Of course." Yume and the others laughed and joined in the fun. After sitting for a while, Shifengju said with a smile that he was going to walk around the business. Wang reminded him to be tired from the journey, come back early, and don't be tired, and let him go. However, she asked Sangwon to stay and talk for a while. Naturally, the topic of conversation revolved around Sang Yufei. As they talked, Yume coughed and asked with a seemingly casual smile, "You must have spent a lot of money to entertain so many guests, right?" Sangwon's face stiffened, but she simply nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, it was a lot. It was all the young master's decision. I don't know the details." "Oh, how can you not know? He was working for your biological brother," Yume said acidly. Wang sighed and glared at Yume before smiling generously. Wan Yang is a married woman, so how can she interfere with her family's affairs? Besides, she is now the eldest daughter-in-law of our family, so how can she be the one in charge outside? For this matter, Fengju should be the one in charge. Your younger brother has always been the most sensible and reliable. Hee, I'm sure he won't lose face. How much money can a banquet in the countryside cost? 1 or 2,000 is enough. That's still not a small amount. Sure, Yume pretended to be puzzled and said, don't you still have your eldest brother and sister-in-law in your family? They should be the ones in charge of this matter. How can they let Fengju steal the limelight? Aya, your brother and sister-in-law won't be angry with Fengju because of this, right? Sangwon felt embarrassed, but she could not embarrass her sister-in-law in front of her mother-in-law. She could only smile and say, this matter was decided by big brother and sister-in-law. Fengju has helped a lot, so big brother, sister-in-law, and second brother only have gratitude in their hearts. Second brother said that he would like to thank mother and young master when he comes over later. Your brother and sister-in-law are too polite. Wang smiled and said, it's only right for relatives to help each other. We're all family, so there's no need to be so polite. Ji Yuan has given our Fenghua some pointers, so that Fenghua can become a high scholar in the future. This old woman is already very grateful. Mother, what are you saying? Sangwon smiled and said, since we're all family, mother, you're treating us like outsiders. Ah. Yes, let's not talk about this anymore. Wang smiled and instructed Sangwon not to forget to clean up the guest room. She then asked when Sang Yufei would be leaving for the capital. Would there be anyone to escort him? And so on. Sangwon answered her question one by one. Sure, Yume was unhappy to see Sangwon changing the topic with just a few words. Hearing them call themselves family, it made her sound like an outsider. She felt even more awkward and raised her voice to change the topic. She smiled and said, to be fair, your brother and sister-in-law should really thank Fengju for his help. Otherwise, how could the banquet be so easy to arrange? I wonder what kind of dishes you've prepared? What kind of wine were they using? Where did they hire the chef? AI, it's a pity that your village is too far away from our Qingzhou. It's too remote. Otherwise, we could have sent the chef from Yuha restaurant over and make all kinds of delicacies. Wouldn't that be more honorable? Io, that's not right. The villagers are honest and love to eat big fish and meat. Who knows, when they see sea cucumbers and abalones, they might think that they're worthless and say that your Sang family is stingy. You set up a banquet and don't give us anything good to eat. Forget it. Chapter 123. Big sister is right. Sangwon's heart was filled with anger and bitterness. She unconsciously clenched her fists tightly to stop her body from trembling. With a gentle smile, she said, our Sai village is far away, and the villagers are not particular about food. We are content as long as we have chicken, duck, and fish. In the future, if big brother-in-law passes, big sister can consider inviting the chef of Jade Lotus restaurant to Mengxian to hold a banquet. Young master will definitely be happy to help. Moreover, big brother-in-law's friends and relatives are all elegant people who have seen the world. They will definitely praise the sea cucumbers and abalones. Sure, Yume's expression changed. She coldly said, what do you mean? Are you looking down on us? Sure, Yume and Ren Jixian had been listening to everyone in the household talking about the Sang family. Even the second Lord Sure had told them with a smile that official Jean, who was competing with him to buy the golden silk phoenix-tailed bird, gave way to him when he heard that his eldest daughter-in-law's biological brother was this year's Ji Yuan. Sure, Yume and Ren Jixian felt uncomfortable, as if there were thorns in their hearts. With Gu Fengzi fanning the flames in her ears from time to time, Sure, Yume's heart was like a volcano. The more she looked at Sangwon, the more she felt that Sangwon's face was full of arrogance and smugness. The fire in her heart could not help but grow bigger and bigger. She wanted to humiliate Sangwon, but who would have thought that Sangwon would retaliate without batting an eyelid? How could she still maintain her face? Big sister. Sangwon's expression changed and she quickly stood up. Her hands were loosely folded in front of her, and she stood with her head lowered. She timidly glanced at Wang. Yume, what are you doing? When Sangwon said those words, her tone was gentle and sincere. Her expression was gentle and tranquil, but to Wang Sure, who had nothing to do with her, those words did not have any other meaning. Only Sure Yume could feel the pain. Wang saw her daughter flip out and couldn't help but frown and glare at her. She scolded. How can you talk to your sister-in-law like that? What Wan Yang said was right. If my son-in-law wins, I'll definitely ask Fengju to go to Mengxian and hold a big banquet to give you face. Wan Yang, sit down, sit down. Your eldest sister is just like that. Don't argue with her. Ah. Wan Yang wouldn't be so calculative with big sister. Sangwon bowed slightly to express her gratitude and sat back down. Sure, Yumei was flustered and exasperated. Mother, am I still your daughter? How could you talk about me like that in front of outsiders? You're so biased. Shut up. I think you're getting more and more out of hand. Wang's face also darkened. You were biased to begin with, forgetting your daughter after marrying a daughter-in-law. You. Nanny Jiang gave Sangwon a signal with her eyes. Sangwon stood up and smiled. Mother, I still have some matters to attend to in Ning Garden, so I'll take my leave first. I'll come and pay my respects to Mother tomorrow. Go. Wang was arguing with her daughter and couldn't wait for Sangwon to leave. Sangwon excused herself and left hurriedly. After she left, she could hear Shi Yumei's resentful voice behind her. Isn't it just because my brother won Jiyuan? She should be riding on top of my head. That kind of family, even if they were the top scorer, they would still be poor. They even need our family to pay for a banquet in the countryside. What the hell is that? You and Fengju can still rely on them in the future. Sangwon bit her lips and held back the tears that were welling up in her eyes. She quickly blinked away the tears and took a few deep breaths. All of you can leave. I want to be alone for a while. Back in Ning Garden, Sangwon chased everyone out and went into a daze alone in the warm room. Even Luya was not left behind. She could no longer hold back her tears of humiliation. She was the Shi family's young mistress, who entered the Shi family in a dignified manner. But now, she had to endure the anger of her sister-in-law, who had returned to her maternal family to seek refuge. She was humiliated in such a way that she had no way to complain. She couldn't wait to return the money to Shi Fengju, so that the Sang family would no longer take advantage of the Shi family. But she couldn't do it. Where did she get the money? Sangwon's tears flowed for a while before she slowly calmed down. She wiped the corners of her eyes and let out a long sigh. Fortunately, big brother, sister-in-law, and second brother didn't know about this. Otherwise, they would feel terrible. It was enough for her to bear this alone. When Shi Fengju returned, Sangwon was still in a daze in the warm room. Shi Fengju was puzzled when he saw the strange color of the servants in the room. Luya whispered the reason, and Shi Fengju knew what was going on. He sighed softly and walked in. Wan Yang. Sangwon raised her head and saw him. She quickly stood up and forced a smile. You're back. Wan Yang. Shi Fengju held her hand and said softly. Don't take my big sister's words to heart. You know that I don't think that way. It would have been better if he didn't mention it. The moment he did, Sangwon's nose turned sour again. She gently withdrew her hand and lowered her head. Actually, she's right. Our family shouldn't have spent your family's money. You're saying the opposite. Shi Fengju held her shoulder and laughed. What do you mean by our family? You're now our Shi family's daughter-in-law. Even when you're out as a guest, others have to address you as young Mistress Shi. Alright, don't think about it anymore, Anne. Sangwon did not say anything. Just treat it as if she's spouting nonsense and ignore it. Shi Fengju said softly, For my sake, Anne? For your sake, should I accept these words? Sangwon pursed her lips. Since I'm the Shi family's young mistress, what right does she have to say these things to me? Shi Fengju felt a headache coming on and said in distress, I don't know what's wrong with big sister. She wasn't like this in the past. I'll have a good talk with her later. Wan Yang, don't be angry, all right? Won't your body feel uncomfortable if you get angry? Sangwon said, You don't know what's wrong with her, but I do. If not for Gu Fengzi's instigation, she wouldn't be so mean. But I can't tell you this. Even if I did, would you believe me? Better not. Sangwon said faintly. If you look for her, she won't do anything to you. She'll probably blame me for complaining to you. I'm afraid she'll hate me even more in the future. Don't worry. Shi Fengju smiled. I promise she won't link it to you. Trust me just this once, Shi Fengju couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Wan Yang. Wan Yang coaxed her repeatedly. Sangwon saw that it wasn't convenient for her to do anything, so she could only sigh and accept it half-heartedly. But in her heart she sighed. So what if you talk to her? As long as Gu Fangzi is around, this kind of thing won't stop. But I can't say anything bad about Gu Fangzi, can I? Are you hungry? Let's get someone to set the table. Sangwon sighed. Wash your face first. Look at you, your eyes are swollen. Shi Fengju's fingers gently brushed past her eyes. The slightly cold touch made Sangwon subconsciously want to avoid it, but before she could do anything, his hand had already left her eyes. Then sit down and rest for a while. Sangwon smiled. The servant outside suddenly reported that Peony Park's Lan Xiang wanted to see him. Shi Fengju subconsciously thought that Gu Fangzi had asked her to invite him over again. He frowned and said, "Ask her what's the matter and tell her to go back. Just tell her that we're about to set the table, and that it's nothing urgent. We'll talk about it tomorrow." Hong Yi answered and went to ask. After a while, she came back with 2 books in her hands and replied. Lan Xiang said that these are the account books that Miss Gu wanted to give to young mistress. These are the accounts that young mistress hasn't been home for the past few days. Young mistress, please check them. Shi Fengju was stunned and felt slightly apologetic. He nodded and said, "Keep them. Don't forget to tell young mistress later." Hong Yi bowed and took the books back to the small study room. After Sangwon washed her face, the servant girls served the food and the 2 of them sat down to eat. Shi Fengju smiled at Sangwon and said, "We left in a hurry this time and didn't have time to give second brother a congratulatory gift. What do you think is appropriate?" "You still need to give a gift? If your eldest sister knows, she'll open her eyes wide and eat me up." Sangwon shook her head and said, "Brother and sister-in-law are already very grateful for such a big help this time. I don't think there's a need for that." "How can that be?" Shi Fengju smiled and said, "We've already given gifts to those unrelated squires. If we don't give gifts to our proper in-laws, people will gossip. I've already asked someone to prepare the list. I'll bring it over for you to take a look later." Sangwon rolled her eyes at him. "Why are you still asking me when you've already prepared it?" She smiled and nodded in agreement. Sangwon thought that he would show the list to her in private. Unexpectedly, the next morning, Shi Fengju accompanied her to pay respects to Wang. Then, he presented the list to Wang in front of everyone and said with a smile, "Mother, this is the list of gifts I've prepared for Granduncle Sang. Do you think it's suitable?" As soon as Shi Fengju said this, Shi Yumei, Gu Fangzi, and Shi Lian all paid attention. Wang nodded with a smile and said, "I was just about to ask you about this. What a coincidence that you've asked first. My son is always so proper." As she said this, she ordered Xiao Chun to read the list. Xiao Chun received the list and read it from the beginning. Other than gold and silver, there were also porcelain and jade furnaces, calligraphy and paintings, screens, beautiful silk, tea sets, spices, tea leaves, and so on. There were almost 200 to 300 different items. The more sure you may listened, the uglier her face became. Gu Fangzi's face was indifferent, but only she knew what she was thinking. Sangwon was also a little uneasy. She did not know what Shi Fengju was up to. "I say, Fengju, why don't you just move all of our family's assets to the Sang family?" Shi Yumei finally could not help but interrupt Xiao Chun. "Isn't it enough to provide money and manpower to help them organize the banquet? Why do you still have to spend so much money? Fengju, our family's money doesn't just fall from the sky. I'm puzzled. You've always done things with a sense of propriety, so why are you so unreliable this time? Did someone blow some pillow talk to you?" "Fengju, it's not that I want to scold you, but pillow talk is poisonous. You can't do that." "Big sister," Sangwon stood up and said. "Fengju did tell me about the gifts, but the list was prepared by him. I only knew about it now." "So what? If not for you, my brother wouldn't have done something so unreliable." Shi Yumei sneered and said, "Sister-in-law, don't forget that you're now our Shi family's daughter-in-law, not the Sang family's daughter. Don't always side with your maternal family. If you have the ability to side with your maternal family, then so be it. But if you don't, then don't take advantage of our Shi family's benefits to supplement your maternal family." Sangwon said, "According to what you said, you're now a member of the Ren family. Yet you keep saying that you're from the Shi family. What right do you have to speak here? Chapter 124. Although Sangwon was angry, she knew that she could not say such words out loud. If she did, it would be equivalent to embarrassing her mother-in-law and Shi Fengju. Gu Fengzi was secretly delighted to see Sangwon and Shi Yumei contradicting each other. She could not wait for them to quarrel. Seeing that Sangwon had no intention of continuing after rebuking her, her eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. Big sister, what nonsense are you talking about? Shi Fengju smiled and said, second young master Sang has been diagnosed with the Jiyuan, and the neighboring villages have all sent him generous gifts. Since our families are in-laws, how can we be stingy? As he spoke, he casually mentioned the number of acres of fertile land, the size of the house, and the amount of gold and silver. He continued, besides, you've really wronged Wan Yang. This matter was discussed by me and the housekeeper. It has nothing to do with Wan Yang. Yumei, sit down obediently and don't say anything else. Wang frowned and glared at her. She quickly nodded at Shi Fengju and said, Fengju did not do anything wrong. Our Shi family is known as the richest family in Qingzhou. If the gifts are stingy, what will others say? Besides, Wan Yang is the eldest daughter-in-law of our family, so we can't be stingy. Fengju, you and the housekeeper should think it over. Wan Yang, take a look and see if it's appropriate. Wang said and ordered Xiuchun to show the list to Sangwon. Shi Yumei was speechless for a moment. That's right, Sangwon was the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shi family. Her family was in-laws with the Shi family. Even if the gifts were generous, what did it have to do with her? What right did she have to comment? Thinking that even though she had the surname Shi, she was already a member of the Ren family, she could not help but feel sad. Young master's idea can't be wrong. Wan Yang wouldn't know about this. Sangwon smiled and got up to take the list. After a quick glance, she put it down. Mother, since that's the case, I'll send someone to do it. Shi Fengju took the list back with a smile and smiled at Shi Yumei. Big sister, when brother-in-law wins the next competition, I'll definitely prepare an identical gift to congratulate him. I definitely won't let big sister lose face. Hearing this, Shi Yumei felt a little better. She snorted and said, why is it the same? Can't you bear to prepare a bigger one? Shi Fengju laughed out loud and said, big sister, I can't favor one over another, or else Sangwon will complain that I'm being unfair. You. Shi Yumei was so angry that she stomped her feet. She said with a faint smile, what? Are you that afraid of your wife? You're afraid of her complaining. But you're not afraid of me complaining? Shi Fengju shook his head with a smile, and did not answer her question. Instead, he smiled at Wang and said, Mother, look at big sister. She's getting older and older, saying such childish things. I think mother dotes on her too much. You should teach her some manners. Without waiting for Wang and Shi Yumei to reply, he took the list and ran away. You brat, are you my younger brother or my older brother? Shi Yumei stomped her feet angrily and turned to Wang. Mother, look at what Fengju said. Wang was already amused by her son's words. She patted Shi Yumei's hand and said, all right. I think Fengju is right. You should really reflect on yourself and learn some manners. You just have to take care of your husband's daily life and accompany me when you're free. You don't have to worry about anything else. I'm not muddle-headed, and neither is Fengju. Shi Yumei's heart sank and she whispered, I understand, mother. So what if she was unwilling? She was now a member of the Ren family. Even if Sangwon moved the entire Shi family's assets to the Sang family, as long as Fengju was willing, her mother wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Let alone her? But why did her heart feel so uncomfortable? Sangwon was secretly grateful. Yesterday, Shi Yumei had mocked the Sang family for spending so much money, but today, Shi Fengju openly took out such a valuable gift list. Even if Shi Yumei wanted to say something behind her back, she couldn't. You know? It's good that you know. Wang's face darkened and she said with disgust, is that Suibao girl still behaving? Shi Yumei was startled and smiled faintly. Her? Nothing's wrong with him. He pays his respects to me every day. He's well behaved and doesn't cause any trouble. Usually, she serves me in the study room, but occasionally, she'll accompany me to relieve my boredom. You're so soft-hearted and gullible. Just because someone says something nice, you take it seriously. Wang snorted. Why did I see her walking around the garden the other day? Wasn't she wearing the Xiangyin satin that I gave you a while ago? Mother, Sure Yume didn't take it seriously and smiled. Isn't it just a piece of cloth? I've made quite a number of clothes this time, and there's no point in keeping that cloth, so I gave it to her. Anyway, there'll be more cloth next year. You? Really? Wang sighed, but she couldn't do anything about her daughter. Sangwon saw that her mother-in-law was talking to her daughter about something that wasn't suitable for outsiders to know. So she quickly got up with a smile and excused herself. Shi Lian also took the opportunity to leave, and the two left together. When Shi Yume saw that they had left, she was afraid that her mother would drag her down and give her a long-lasting lecture, so she also hurriedly excused herself. She gave a look to Gu Fangzi and pulled her away. Mother, I'll send cousin back. I'll come talk with you in the afternoon. This child sigh. One couldn't stop her in time and sighed blindly. She said to Nanny Jiang, why is she so muddle-headed? She doesn't have any prejudice at all. That Suibao doesn't look like a well-behaved person, but she still coaxed her. If Wang could criticize Shi Yume, how could Nanny Jiang dare to agree? She smiled and said, Old mistress, perhaps you're overthinking. Banana Courtyard is in our household, and has always been well-behaved and dutiful. There hasn't been any unpleasant rumors. Don't worry, there won't be anyone who dares to bully our eldest missy. They don't dare now. Wang sneered. I'm not the one saying this. Just wait and see. If she dares to stir up trouble in our household, I'll sell her off tomorrow. It's hard to say what will happen in the future. Fragrant cloud satin is such an expensive material. Is it something a Tongfang like her can wear? If she's really well behaved, she should have rejected it. She actually dared to wear it out of Banana Courtyard. Our eldest missy is the official wife. Even if there are foxes, they can't surpass her. Besides, who would have the guts to go against our Shi family? Old mistress, you're overthinking. Nanny Jiang hurriedly comforted her with a smile. Wang felt a little better and nodded with a smile. That makes sense. As long as our Shi family is around, no one can touch our family's young lady. When Sangwon returned to Ninggarden, head servant Yu from the outer courtyard sent a messenger to inform her that he would be heading to young mistress's house in Sai village in Yonglu town in 2 days. He wanted to know if young mistress had anything to bring back. Sangwon smiled. I just came back from home. I don't have anything to bring back. I'll leave everything to young master. The messenger left without a word. Thinking about how she had promised Shi Fengju to cook for her in the evening, Sangwon discussed with Mama Li and ordered the servants to prepare the ingredients for the afternoon meal. Mama Li was naturally happy to see Sangwon preparing a soup for Shi Fengju. She smiled and said, Young mistress, it's good that you have such intentions. That kitchen is a mess. It's not a place you should be. It'll be bad if the grease gets on your hands or face. Nanny, young master has done so much for our family. I should at least show my gratitude. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Sangwon insisted with a smile. Ai, then you have to be careful. Mama Li said with a smile. Young mistress, you're really virtuous. Young master is really lucky to have married you. Nanny, please don't praise me anymore. Sangwon's smile was a little stiff. In the afternoon, when it was about time, Sangwon changed her clothes and went to the kitchen. Under the kitchen maid's guidance, she made 6 dishes and a soup for Shi Fengju. She steamed a bowl of rouge goose, stir-fried sliced chicken with hibiscus, fried mandarin fish with winter bamboo shoots, pan-fried pork ribs, and 2 plates of vegetable tofu with tomato sauce, sesame oil, and a big bowl of piping hot longan, ham, and duck soup. At noon, the soup was stewed and simmered for the whole afternoon. When it was time for dinner, the duck meat was stewed to a pulp and the soup was fragrant. When the steaming soup was served on the table, the rich aroma went straight into everyone's nose. Paired with the amber-colored ribs that were drizzled with sugar sauce, the snow-white petal-like chicken slices, and the rouge goose, It looked, smelled, and tasted good. Did you make all of this yourself? Shifengju came back and saw it. He couldn't believe it. Of course, Sangwon said with a smile. Other than washing and cutting the vegetables, I did everything by myself. If you don't believe me, you can ask Mama Lee. Young master, young mistress really made all of this especially for you. She didn't even let us help, Mama Lee said with a smile. Try it. It's the same as what you usually eat, but it's different. Sangwon smiled and pulled him to sit down. Since you made it especially for me, it must be better than what I usually eat. Shifengju sat down with a smile and said regretfully, what a pity. It would be better if there was a pot of good wine. Young master, here's the wine, Mama Lee said as she took the wine pot from a maidservant and said with a smile. Young mistress, let me warm a pot of spring jade pear. But young master, you should drink less. It's not good for your body to drink too much. Mama Lee put down the wine pot with a smile and gave a look to the maidservants to leave, leaving some space for the couple. When Shifengju saw the wine, he felt a little regretful. What a pity. If only there wasn't any wine, he could still rely on Sangwon to make it for him again. However, it was hard for her to think of everything for him. Sangwon scooped half a bowl of duck soup for him. Drink some soup first to warm your stomach. This soup has been simmering for the whole afternoon and is suitable for nourishing in autumn and winter. Shifengju took the bowl and drank 2 mouthfuls. He praised with a smile and said, don't just busy yourself for me, you should eat too. Sangwon smiled and poured him some wine. Then she sat down. The wine is just right, young master, try it. Shifengju smiled and picked up the wine cup. Just as he was about to drink, he suddenly paused and said with a smile, it's boring to drink alone. Wanyang, you should drink some too. Sangwon's expression froze when she heard this. She forced a smile and said, I don't drink wine. She had never drunk wine before. The wine on the wedding night should have been the first cup of wine she drank in this life, but she didn't drink it. Chapter 125. This wine is mellow and sweet. It won't make you drunk, nor will it make you feel uncomfortable. Besides, it's okay to get drunk in your own home. Just treat it as accompanying me, okay? Shifengju couldn't help but laugh as he filled the empty wine cup and handed it to her. He jokingly said, look, the wet nurse even prepared a wine cup for you. How could you let her good intentions down? Then I'll only drink this cup. Sangwon smiled as she took the wine cup. She smiled at him and said, eldest young master, thank you for helping me out today. Also, thank you for helping my family these past few days. She was still so distant and polite to him. Shifengju secretly sighed. However, she finally saw the good in him, didn't she? Moreover, last night when he had the courage to carry the quilt to bed, she had tacitly approved of his behavior and didn't drive him out. It was clear that she had some feelings for him. Shifengju's spirits rose as he smiled and raised his cup. Wanyang, I should protect you. Sangwon faintly smiled and drank the wine in the cup. It was mellow in her mouth and slightly spicy in her throat. She couldn't help but knit her brows. When she looked down, she saw a bowl of hot duck soup in front of her. Shifengju chuckled and said, it seems that you really don't know how to drink. Sangwon drank a few mouthfuls of the soup to disperse the spicy taste in her mouth. She smiled and said, that's right. Eldest young master can't make things difficult for me anymore. You should also drink less. Shifengju had gotten drunk twice, and both times he didn't do anything good. However, she couldn't blame him. She didn't want it to happen again. Moreover, this time she had prepared the wine for him. She felt wronged. Okay. If you say you don't want to drink, then I won't drink. Shifengju smiled and picked up a piece of fish for her. Eat it while it's hot. Sangwon saw that he was so calm as if he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. She couldn't say anything and could only agree vaguely. She lowered her head and ate. Shifengju gazed at her tenderly and couldn't help but smile. When would his little wife understand his intentions? Who asked him to care too much and be too afraid of being rejected? Oh, that's right. Actually, it's enough to send Chang Huan and the others to deliver the congratulatory gift to my brother. Why send steward you? Sangwon suddenly said with a smile. Housekeeper Yu was the second housekeeper in the Shi family, second only to the Jin housekeeper. He was in charge of the family's finances and had a lot of work to do every day. It'll be more convenient for Steward Yu to go, Shi Fengju said with a smile. Don't get angry if I tell you. Among the gifts that those squires and officials gave, there were a lot of antiques, calligraphy, paintings, and other toys. If your two older brothers want to return the gifts, they must first know the value of these things. Steward Yu is an expert in this area, so he can help them sort it out. Sang-won felt warmth in her heart. She couldn't help but say, "No wonder you prepared everything on the gift list today. This is a gift you specially prepared for my brother?" Shi Fengju laughed happily. "My wife is really smart. Oh, you won't blame me for being meddlesome, right?" Sang-won didn't know what to say. This person, how could he be so good to her? How could I blame you? You're so thoughtful. I think my brother and sister-in-law will also be grateful to you. Shi Fengju felt very comfortable when he heard this. He felt that his painstaking efforts weren't in vain, so he asked with a thick-skinned smile. Hee, then how does Wan Yang plan to repay me? Sang-won froze for a moment then giggled. Eldest young master is really a businessman. I'll take that as a compliment. Shi Fengju also laughed. If eldest young master doesn't mind, I'll cook for you from time to time. How about it? Shi Fengju was overjoyed at first, but just as he said okay, he shook his head. I don't think so. You shouldn't stay in a place like the kitchen. What if you get splashed with oil, or get hurt? How about this? I see that you're usually free and you're good at accounting. You can help me out a little. Are you willing? Help him out a little? Did he want her to help him with accounting? His business's accounting? Wasn't this? Although Sang-won was hesitant and doubtful, and she knew that she shouldn't agree to it, her heart was thinking one thing while her mouth was saying something else. She couldn't help but nod and smile. Young master, if you have any instructions, please feel free to tell me. Then I'll take that as a yes. Shi Fengju's eyes lit up, and he smiled as if he had eaten a ginseng fruit. Shi Fengju couldn't help but feel happy when he thought about how the two of them would spend more time together in the future. Okay, I agree. Sang-won smiled sweetly. In the blink of an eye, it was the middle of October. At noon, Sang Yufei finally brought Shi Ming to the Shi family. They were warmly received by everyone in the household. As expected, Shi Fenghua had asked for leave from the academy to return home. When the hierarch heard that this year's Ji Yuan was a guest at his residence, not only did he happily give him leave, he also earnestly urged him to learn from Ji Yuan. This would only be beneficial to him. When his classmates in the academy heard about this, they were all envious. They all asked him to invite Ji Yuan over, so that they could learn from each other. Shi Fenghua couldn't refuse and could only agree. His classmates were overjoyed and forced him to set a date, making Shi Fenghua feel helpless. Everything was fine in the Shi family. Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei also had a good chat. There was only one discordant voice, and that was Ren Jixian. When Sang Yufei arrived with Shi Ming, Ren Jixian immediately recognized the servant who used to serve him. He exclaimed in surprise, Hey, isn't this Shi Ming? When did you start following Brother Sang? Old Master Ren. Shi Ming greeted Sang Yufei with a complacent look on his face. He was full of confidence as he followed beside Sang Yufei. He felt as if he had just vented his anger. Didn't you dislike me? Ji Yuan doesn't dislike me. It's obvious that your taste isn't that good. Second brother just happened to lack someone by his side. I thought Shi Ming was more suitable, so I gave him to second brother. He's now second brother's page boy. Shi Fengju smiled faintly. Shi Ming is very good at handling matters. I haven't thanked brother-in-law properly yet. Sang Yufei smiled and cupped his hands. Second brother, you're too polite. Shi Fengju smiled. Ren Jixian was very disdainful and smiled proudly. Kiki, Brother Sang is still the best at teaching people. A few days ago, this brat served me clumsily and couldn't do anything well, so I returned him to Fengju. I didn't expect Fengju to give him to you. And the two of you actually get along well. Kiki, speaking of which, this master-servant relationship is quite faded. Sure, Yumei was secretly happy to hear that. She deliberately gave her husband a displeased look and scolded. Aya, how can you say such things in front of second young master Sang? It's as if you're giving him something you don't want. He's the top scorer. You're making him lose face. Old Mistress Ren must be joking. Perhaps everyone is different, but I really think that Shi Ming is not bad. I believe in brother-in-law's taste. Sang Yufei smiled and nodded at Shi Fengju. What he meant was that Ren Jixian's taste was not very trustworthy. Although Sang Yufei was secretly puzzled as to why the couple wanted to make things difficult for him, he was not a foolish person. He knew very well how Shi Fengju treated him. Shi Fengju was also secretly angry. When he met Sang Yufei's gaze, he knew that he did not think too much and was secretly relieved. He smiled and said, "It's all my fault. If brother-in-law had told me earlier that you wanted a beautiful woman to accompany you, I wouldn't have let Shi Ming go. It's all my fault." "Oh right, second brother must be tired from the long journey. Let's go back to the guest room and rest." Wang smiled and agreed. She also said that Shi Fenghua would be back in the evening, and that they would come over for dinner together. Sang Yufei agreed and got up to leave. Shi Fengju and Sang Wan sent him to the guest room. "Second brother, don't worry and stay here. Don't be estranged. If you need anything, just tell me or your sister. It's the same. If it's inconvenient, just let Shi Ming tell us." Shi Fengju smiled. If there was something, he would not say it too clearly. "Brother-in-law, don't worry. I understand." Sang Yufei understood and smiled. After sending Sang Yufei to the guest room, Shi Fengju and Sang Wan returned to Ning Garden. "Wan Yang, brother-in-law is just like that. When you go back, tell second brother in private, and ask him not to take offense. Wan Yang, you won't be angry with me, right?" "Don't worry." Sang Wan smiled and said, "Every family has its own difficulties. Our Sang family's situation is not much better than yours. How could second brother be so foolish?" "That's true." Shi Fengju slapped his forehead and laughed. "I forgot about that." The two looked at each other and smiled. When Shi Fenghua came back in the evening, there was another lively scene. Ever since then, Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei spent most of their time either in Shi Fenghua's study room or in one of the pavilions in the garden. Sometimes they would exchange pointers, discuss difficult questions, study the questions of each year, chat about anecdotes, or occasionally paint and write poems for each other. The two of them got along very well and regretted not having met each other earlier. However, Ren Jixian was not tactful and followed them around every day. He clearly did not know anything, but thought that he knew everything. He spoke frankly and confidently, and as long as he was allowed to continue, he would not stop. After he finished speaking with great difficulty, there was an awkward silence. This was because Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei did not know how to respond to him. At first, Ren Jixian did not feel that there was anything wrong with him. Instead, he was very proud of himself. He felt that the two of them were shocked speechless by his knowledge. But gradually, he began to feel a sense of discomfort. This was because the two of them had never praised him. They had never looked at him with admiration as he had hoped. At first, this made him very confused. When he realized that the two of them were intentionally or unintentionally ignoring him, Ren Jixian could no longer sit still. His self-esteem had been severely hurt. That day he deliberately did not look for them in a fit of pique. Instead he asked Sui Bao to tell them that he had caught a cold and could not go out. He originally thought that the two of them would come to visit him in person. Then he would use words to make them realize that they should not have ignored him. Who knew that Sui Bao would only bring back one sentence? Third young master and second uncle said that since it is so, master, please rest well. This made Ren Jixian very angry. In his heart, he scolded the two of them for not knowing what was good for them and not knowing how to respect their elders. Chapter 126. Finally, Shi Fenghua brought Sang Yufei out to the academy for a gathering without informing him. Ren Jixian flew into a rage and vented his anger at Shi Yumei. Shi Yumei was also angry and said hatefully, "Outrageous! The Sang siblings had gone too far. Do they really think that the Shi family is their own home? Instigating one wasn't enough, and now they're instigating the other. Preposterous. Let's see if I don't teach her a lesson." She really thinks she's all that. Sure Yumei did not bother to eat lunch, and rushed straight to Ning Garden with Cui Zhu with a cold face. Sangwon had just finished her lunch, and was drinking tea in the warm room. When she heard that the eldest Missy had arrived, she quickly got up to welcome her. Before she could leave the room, Sure Yumei had already rushed in angrily and pointed at Sangwon with a sneer. What a Sure family's young mistress. Impressive, impressive. You even despise the two of us. The Sang family sure has a lot of face, daring to be so arrogant in the Sure family's territory. You've gone too far. Are you going to chase us away later on? So what if you've got Jiyuan? What does that have to do with our Sure family? Our Sure family doesn't need to use that to put up a front. What a joke. Big sister, what are you saying? Sangwon was inexplicably scolded and was embarrassed. After a moment of astonishment, her face could not help but carry a hint of anger. Big sister, if you have something to say, then let's talk it out. What did I do to make you unhappy? I don't like you at all. Sure Yumei pointed at her and said, why don't you take a look at yourself in the mirror? Is our Sure family something that a poor family like you can climb up to? You vixen, I don't know what kind of tricks you used to bewitch our Fengju. That second brother of yours is even worse. He brings my third brother around every day, and doesn't even allow him to get close to his brother-in-law. Pei, seeing that my third brother is honest, pure, and gullible, you're afraid that my master will see through you. You and your sister are both trash. Mama Li, Xingji, and the other maidservants hurriedly came up to pull and persuade Sure Yumei. Luya supported Sangwon without saying a word. Sangwon was stunned. Only now did she realize that Sure Yumei's hatred for her was so deep and vicious. It was not the usual jealousy between sisters-in-law. Big sister, you have to have evidence before you speak. Although our Sang family is not as wealthy as the Sure family, we are still a good family with a clean record. We siblings have been taught by our parents and elder brothers since we were young, and we know everything that we should know. Big sister, don't be so sarcastic. Are you talking about me or my second brother? If you say that I shouldn't have married into the Sure family and was an eyesore to you, please don't tell me about this matter. I wasn't the one who set up the engagement, nor was I the one who sent the 3 matchmakers and 6 betrothal gifts. If you're talking about my second brother, I don't understand what my second brother did to make you so angry. Him being together with my third brother doesn't seem to be an eyesore to you. You're rebelling. How dare you talk back to me? Sangwon, how dare you quibble? Sure Yumei was so angry that she threw herself at Sangwon, wanting to settle the score with her. Mama Li, Xingji, and the others panicked and desperately held her back. Eldest Missy, please calm down. Let's talk things over slowly. Let go of me. Sure Yumei struggled anxiously and angrily and shouted. Sangwon, you're really capable, ah. How dare you let the servants bully me? Good. If you have the ability, tell them not to let go of me. I'd like to see what my mother will do if she finds out. Sangwon was so angry that she could barely speak. Big sister, I still don't understand what you're talking about. What's with all this talk about? It's none of my business if you don't like me. But what are you trying to do by coming here and making a scene? My second brother was only invited by my mother and Fengju as a guest. I don't understand how he's gotten in your way. Sure Yumei stared at her coldly and struggled to break free from Mama Li and the others. She sneered. You don't know? Kiki, you're really good at pretending to be innocent. I'd like to ask you, what did my husband do to you? What right does that brat have to seduce Fenghua and ignore his own brother-in-law? What? In this world, only your Sang family is worthy of being educated, and no one else is worthy. Ji Yuan is so arrogant that his tail is about to reach the heavens. He can't wait to step on everyone in the world. The more Sure Yumei spoke, the angrier she became. New and old grudges surged in her heart. I just can't stand seeing you like this. You're so petty and scheming. Why are you pretending to be innocent? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you'll really think that everyone in the Sure family is a fool. Sure Yumei raised her hand and slapped Sangwon's face. Mama Li and the others screamed. Sangwon screamed and hurriedly dodged. Luya screamed, young mistress, and subconsciously went forward to block the slap. Pa. A crisp sound was heard and Luya's face was hit. Young mistress. Luya! Everyone exclaimed and rushed forward to pull Shiryume back. Shiryume sneered. What a loyal servant. Sangwon, you're really something. Not only did you charm a man, you even won't let a servant off. As she spoke, her hands did not stop moving. She pushed Luya to the side and raised her hand to slap Sangwon. If she didn't scratch that vixen's face today, she, Shiryume, would not be surnamed Shir. Big sister. What are you doing? Shir Fengju rushed over when he heard the news and saw this scene. He quickly went forward and grabbed Shiryume's arm coldly. Big sister, can't we talk things out? Do you have to be so violent? What's there to talk about? You don't even ask what this woman did, but blame me. Fengju, if you still see me as your sister, then teach this woman a lesson for me today. Shiryume retracted her hand angrily. Young master, give me the divorce papers. Give me the divorce papers. Sangwon could no longer hold back her tears. She knew that whether it was her previous life or this one, her life in this household was destined to be a tragedy. One Gufangzi was enough to make her cautious at all times. Now that there was another Shiryume whom she could not touch, there was no way she could continue living like this. At least you still have some self-awareness. Shiryume sneered. Divorce papers? Dream on. Fengju, give her the divorce papers. Divorce this unvirtuous woman. Isn't the person you want to marry Fangzi? Divorce her, and you can marry Fangzi. Live happily and peacefully. It'll be much better than now. Big sister. Shir Fengju shouted. His face was gloomy and terrifying. He stared coldly at Shiryume. What nonsense are you talking about? Wan Yang is my wife. I will not divorce Wan Yang. Sangwon's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip and tears began to fall. You dare to shout at me? Shiryume looked at Shir Fengju with disbelief. You have never spoken to me with such an attitude since we were young. Today, because of this woman, you actually shouted at me. Good hee. It seems that I was wrong. You are family. I am just an outsider. I deserve to be bullied. How would I dare to come here and ask for justice? I should hide in my room and cry quietly. I should flatter others and give me a bowl of rice to eat. Shiryume covered her face and rushed out of the room crying. Shir Fengju anxiously ordered. Quickly stop her. The maidservants seemed to have woken up from a dream. They shouted eldest Missy and rushed out, but it was too late. Shir Fengju secretly frowned. This sister of his was becoming more and more outrageous. She must have complained to mother. Wan Yang. Shir Fengju held her shoulders and said softly, Don't cry. I'm sorry, I made you suffer again. Don't cry. Sangwon pushed him away forcefully and wiped her tears. Young master, whether it's a peaceful divorce or a divorce papers, it's all up to you. What can a little woman like me do? I can't stay in this household anymore. No. Shir Fengju felt a sudden pain in his heart. He simply pulled Sangwon into his arms and hugged her tightly. Whether it's a peaceful divorce or a divorce papers, I won't give them to you. Wan Yang, you're not allowed to say this again. Unable to struggle, Sangwon was angry and anxious at the same time. She raised her hand and pinched his waist. Shir Fengju was in so much pain that he gritted his teeth and groaned. However, he hugged her even tighter and wished that he could embed her into his body. He endured the pain and said, Sangwon, if you're angry, you can hit me or scold me, but I won't let you leave. Sangwon's hand fell down weakly. She sobbed. Are you happy to see me being bullied? One is your sister, the other is your cousin. What do you want to do to me? Wan Yang. Shir Fengju sighed. Tell me what happened. Wan Yang, I'll get justice for you. How many times can you get justice for me? Sangwon sneered. Don't say you're guarding me every day. If you're guarding me every day, I'll be a fierce and jealous woman. You ask me what happened. You'd better ask your sister. I don't know what kind of gossip she heard and came here to vent her anger. Wan Yang. Shir Fengju gently patted her back and comforted her. Wan Yang, you also said that my sister heard some gossip and came here to vent her anger. This means it's a misunderstanding. Don't be angry, okay? Wan Yang, be good. I'll give you an explanation. Be good, Wanyang. Don't be angry, okay? Shi Fengju gently coaxed her. Sangwon was angry, but she couldn't get over it. She was in a dilemma and didn't know what to do. Her tears couldn't stop falling. Wanyang, let's go. Let's go to mother. Shi Fengju slightly let go of her, gently held her face, and wiped her tears. He smiled and said, Okay, don't be sad. Let's go. My sister must have gone to my mother to complain. We can't let her confuse right and wrong. Let's go. Shi Fengju said, holding her hand and walking out. Seeing that Sangwon hesitated and didn't want to move, Shi Fengju smiled and said, Wanyang, you don't want to go. Do you want everyone to misunderstand you? Sangwon was stunned. She thought that he was right. Putting other things aside, she had to get justice from Shi Yume. She couldn't allow her to come to her door and humiliate her for no reason. If she didn't want to go, the truth would be told by Shi Yume. Let's go faster. Shi Fengju saw that her expression was relaxed, so he pulled her along. Mama Li, Xingji, and Luya also followed. Chapter 127. In front of Wang, Shi Yume was crying miserably in her mother's arms. Wang gently patted her back and comforted her softly. Seeing Shi Fengju and Sangwon come in, Wang's face didn't look too good. You're here. Sit down. Sangwon felt that if it weren't for her second brother, her mother-in-law, who loved her daughter dearly and was easily swayed, would have already lost her temper. Shi Fengju pulled Sangwon to sit down and pretended not to see Shi Yume. When Shi Yume heard them come in, her crying immediately went up 2 notches. She sobbed, Mother, and make the decision. All right, stop crying. You've cried yourself hoarse. Wang looked at her son who didn't look too good and her daughter-in-law who was looking down. She patted her daughter's back and comforted her. Mother, I think it's better for me and old master to leave the Shi family. We don't want to be disliked and run on by others. A married daughter is like spilled water. I'm so silly. Why should I ask others to treat me as part of the Shi family? Shi Yume sat up and sobbed. Don't talk nonsense. Wang said angrily. Can't our Shi family afford to raise our own grand-aunt? We'll be a joke if this gets out. Yume, you've never been an outsider in this family. Don't think too much. If you've been wronged, Mother will make the decision for you. Mother. Shi Yume's nose turned sour, and tears rolled down her cheeks again. Big sister, if you've been wronged, not only Mother, but I will also make the decision for you. What happened today? You should at least tell me. Shi Fengju sighed. Wang was stunned and asked in surprise. You don't know what happened? Mother asked eldest sister. Did she tell me anything about it? Shi Yume said angrily. What's there to say? Will you really make the decision for me? Now that you have a wife, how could you still remember me, your elder sister? Sister, if you insist on saying so, then I have nothing to say. Shi Fengju shrugged. If you don't like staying at home, then go back to Mengxian. I've already settled all your debts. I'll get someone to buy new houses and land for you. You. Shi Yume was stunned. Big sister. Shi Fengju interrupted her calmly. Dare I ask eldest sister, not to mention the past few years, have I ever treated eldest sister unfairly while you've been living in the manor? No, you're very good to us, Shi Yume said softly. Do you think I'm still qualified to be your brother and sister? What are you talking about? Shi Yume said anxiously. I never said you were bad. If that's the case, why didn't eldest sister tell me that you've been wronged? Why are you so sure that I won't make the decision for you? Wang was touched by Shi Fengju's words and immediately thought of all the good things about him. She nodded and said, Yes, Yume, Shi Fengju is right. You're related by blood. If there's anything, just say it. How can you hurt your younger brother's heart like this? Eldest sister, tell me. I want to hear it now. Shi Fengju looked straight at her and said seriously. Shi Yume could only hold back the words she wanted to say to Sangwon and said, Okay, I'll wait for you to make the decision. My family's master and my third brother were chatting happily, but your top scorer wife's uncle tried to sow discord between them. She didn't allow my third brother to interact with my family's master, saying that my family's master was useless, pedantic, and a disgrace to all scholars. Tell me, why would an outsider like him dare to do that? Other than being complacent because he got GUN, there must be someone behind him. Someone dislikes the two of us, and is trying to chase us away. Sure, Yume glared at Sangwon hatefully. Eldest sister, did you hear it with your own ears? If I heard it with my own ears, I would have given him a good slap in the morning. Why would I wait until now? Why do you think I'm lying? Sure, Yume widened her eyes. Eldest sister, since you didn't hear it with your own ears, I want to know who told you about it. Eldest sister, tell me and I'll call someone over to clarify things. Sure, Yume obviously wouldn't say that it was her husband. Since Shifengju said so, she didn't dare to point at anyone. She could only say vaguely. In any case, I just know about it. I've already told you, so are you going to help me make the decision? Shifengju didn't speak and looked at Wang. Wang sighed softly and frowned. Yume, you're too willful. What do you mean by this? No matter how stupid Wang was, she understood that her daughter was obviously chasing the wind. Mother, you don't believe me either, right? Sure, Yume was anxious. Eldest sister, don't tell me it was brother-in-law who told you these words? Shifengju suddenly asked. No. He's an honest person, so how could he say such things? Even if he was wronged, he would swallow it. Sure, Yume flatly denied. That's simple. Shifengju said lightly. I don't want anyone to be wronged or wronged in this matter. It's better to get to the bottom of this. Let's ask brother-in-law to come over now. Or I can ask the housekeeper to bring the servants of Banana Courtyard away for questioning. I believe the truth will come to light eventually. Sure, Yume was instantly enraged. She thought to herself, why can't I say it? There's no need to ask. Yes, your brother-in-law did complain to me, but that's all. He even advised me to keep the peace. I'm the one who can't take this lying down. I can't stand some frivolous people. I don't think second brother-in-law is such a person. Fenghua has been praising him. Is there some misunderstanding? Wang hurriedly said. Mother. Sure, Yume was so angry that she couldn't speak. I think so too. Shifengju said. Eldest sister, brother-in-law is quite different in age from third brother and second brother. It's normal that they don't get along. This isn't a big deal, so why are you so angry? Second brother is a guest, and he's only been here for a few days. How could he instigate Fenghua? Sure, Yume said angrily. Why do you trust him so much? You'd rather trust an outsider than me. It's easy to know a person's face, but not his heart. Who knows what he's thinking? Shut up, Wang said coldly. Yume, you're becoming more and more outrageous. Mother, when third brother comes back, call him over and ask him clearly. See if second brother said anything to third brother. Eldest sister, you can't not trust third brother's words, right? Good. Sure, Yume said proudly. That's right. Then we'll wait for third brother to come back and ask him. If there's such a thing, I'll deal with it myself. I promise to give you a satisfactory explanation. If you've wrongly accused someone, what will you do? Shifengju asked. Sure, Yume snorted. If I've wrongly accused someone, I'll apologize. Is that okay? Second brother is a guest, so we'll ask third brother in private. It's inconvenient for second brother to know. If you've wrongly accused someone, then you'll have to apologize to Wan Yang. What? Sure, Yume widened her eyes in disbelief and pointed at Sangwon. I have to apologize to her. Can't I? Shifengju said lightly. Eldest sister, Wan Yang is your sister-in-law, our Shi family's eldest daughter-in-law. You rushed into Ning Garden, scolded, and even hit her. Eldest sister, how is Wan Yang going to manage her subordinates in the future? Where's her dignity? If this were to spread out, what will others think of our Shi family? What will they think of me? Isn't it a joke for a biological sister and her own daughter-in-law to quarrel like this? Wang was shocked. Didn't Yume go to Ning Garden to seek justice? What scolding, questioning, and even hitting her? Shifengju quietly nudged Sangwon. Although Sangwon was annoyed, she had no choice but to stand up and say, Mother, this matter has already passed. Let's not talk about it. Who wants your fake kindness? Sure, Yume did not appreciate it. You shut up. Wang was angry and anxious. She said angrily, "To think that I wanted to stand up for you just now. So you're the one who wrongly accused Wan Yang. If you continue to make a fuss, I won't bother with you anymore." "Sister, Wan Yang is my wife. Even if she really offended you, you should tell me. You embarrassed her like that. But have you ever thought about your brother's face?" Shi Fengju said with dissatisfaction. Fengju is right. Wang was so angry that she did not know what to say. Seeing that Sangwan was still standing there, she beckoned her to come closer and said gently, "Wan Yang, good child, don't feel wronged. Mother knows that you're magnanimous, so don't argue with your sister, okay?" Although Wang was angry, she could not disregard her daughter's face. Although it was reasonable for her daughter to apologize to her daughter-in-law, her daughter was still living in her mother's house. She was afraid that the servants would dislike her even more. In the end, she still felt sorry for her daughter. "Mother, Wan Yang is fine." Sangwan forced a smile, but her heart was cold. After all, there was a difference between relatives and strangers. Even if she made a fuss, what could she do? Seeing her like this, Wang felt even more apologetic and said gently, Okay, Mother knows that you're the most reasonable. Good child, Mother won't let you feel wronged again." As she said that, she ordered Nanny Feng to bring out a brocade box. When she opened the box, there was a dazzling golden phoenix hairpin. Wang personally handed it to Wan Yang and said with a smile, "This pair of hairpins is said to be the favorite of the imperial concubines in the previous dynasty. This child, Fengju, spent tens of thousands of silvers to buy it for me on my 50th birthday. I have no use for it, so I'll give it to you today. Come, Mother will put it on for you." Since this is Mother's birthday gift, how can Wan Yang accept it? Sangwan quickly declined. What use would she have for such a thing? It was just a gift. What she did not know was that Shi Yumei was already jealous to the point that her eyes were red. She had asked her mother for this golden phoenix hairpin many times, but every time, Wang would vaguely refuse to give it to her. She did not expect that she would be willing to give it to Sangwan. This woman, what kind of tricks did she use? Mother is giving it to you, so why are you still refusing? Come quickly, Mother will put it on for you. Wang smiled and waved her hand. Sangwan was helpless and could only answer with a yes. She slightly bent her knees and leaned forward. Wang Shi carefully placed the dangling hair ornament on Sangwan's left temple. The large pearl hanging from her phoenix mouth almost reached her shoulder. Swaying gently, it complemented Sangwan's face. Chapter 128. Good. Wang smiled and said, "Our Wan Yang is indeed beautiful, no one can compare to her." As she spoke, she ordered someone to help her sit down. Wang then turned to Shi Yumei and said, "In the future, if you feel wronged, you can tell me or your brother. Don't be rude and make a scene. You're the eldest daughter of the Shi family, not a shrew." "Yes." Shi Yumei swallowed her anger and lowered her head. "This matter ends here." Wang waved her hand and said, "All of you can go back now. I'm having a headache from all this. Fengju, accompany Wan Yang back." Shi Fengju nodded and left with Sangwan. Once they were out of the courtyard, Sangwan immediately distanced herself from Shi Fengju and held onto Lu Ye's hand as they walked without a word. Shi Fengju opened his mouth to speak, but he held himself back with a bitter smile. He knew that she was wronged, but he understood his sister's temper even more. In front of his sister, even if he wanted to help Wan Yang, he couldn't say it too bluntly. Otherwise, who knew what his sister would do in the future? After all, she was his biological sister, and his mother doted on her so much. What could he do to her? Young master, eldest Missy's temper. Mama Li tugged at Shi Fengju and sighed softly. "You have to persuade her more. If this happened a few more times, young mistress would lose all her face. Today's matter, the old slave has to say it even if he doesn't want to. This is clearly eldest Missy's fault, so she can't be blamed for being angry." Fortunately, that slap didn't land on young mistress's face, or else young mistress wouldn't be able to face anyone. "Nanny, how can I not know that Wan Yang is wronged? But big sister is still big sister, and there's still my mother," Shi Fengju said. Nanny, help me persuade Wan Yang. I'll apologize to her later. What's the use of you apologizing? It's not your fault. Mama Li couldn't help but smile as well. She sighed and said, these past few days, old slave Rijong was very happy to see you and young mistress getting along so well. Who knew that something like this would happen? But you are right. The old slave also knows that you are in a difficult position. Eldest young master, haven't you thought about why eldest Missy is so against young mistress? Shi Fengju frowned and sighed. My sister has always been against this marriage. She has always been prejudiced against Wan Yang. Speaking of this, Shi Fengju felt that he had treated Sang-won unfairly. Wasn't she the same as her sister in the past? She vented all her anger on Sang-won. But how could Sang-won be treated unjustly? This marriage was decided by the elders. He couldn't change it, and neither could she. But he had vented his anger on her, and she had no choice but to accept it. It was so unfair. Perhaps this is one of the reasons. That's because eldest Missy has never seen our young mistress, and doesn't know her well. Young mistress is such a good person. Who wouldn't like her after interacting with her for a long time? Unless, someone is playing tricks in the middle. Mama Li said. Nanny, are you implying something? Nanny, quickly say it. Don't keep me in suspense. Shi Fengju seemed to have something in his heart that was about to come out. Mama Li rolled her eyes at him and snorted. Then this old woman will say it directly. Eldest young master, don't blame this old woman for speaking unpleasantly. If there was one person in the residence who wanted eldest young mistress to be bullied and disliked, who else could it be? Isn't it the master of Peony Park? Eldest Missy and Miss Gu have always been close, and now they are even closer. If you say that Miss Gu didn't say anything to eldest Missy, the old slave won't believe it. Cousin? Shi Fengju was stunned. He really hadn't thought of this. But, from what I see, Fangzi is much more obedient now. Nanny, are you thinking too much? Moreover, she's only a concubine. Wan Yang is my wife. Even if Wan Yang is bullied by my sister, what good will it do her? Eldest young master, look at what you're saying. Mama Li said resentfully. Think about it. If young mistress is disliked by everyone, won't it be her turn to stand up for her? Your words aren't quite right, Shi Fengju shook his head and said. If cousin really wants to deal with Wan Yang, shouldn't she target me? Why instigate big sister? Wan Yang is my wife. As long as I treat her well, what can big sister do? Mama Li couldn't help but be stunned. That's right, if they were talking about fighting for favor, shouldn't Gu Fangzi be fawning over eldest young master? Instead of pestering eldest young master, she instigated eldest Missy. That didn't seem right. Just as eldest young master said. As long as eldest young master looked after eldest young mistress, a married woman like eldest Missy wouldn't be able to influence her brother's matters. An eldest young master was someone who had his own ideas. It was impossible for him to be instigated by her with just a few words. No matter what, young mistress has been wronged. Moreover, eldest Missy's attitude towards young mistress is a little strange. Originally, this shouldn't be the case. It's really strange. Ever since eldest Missy returned, young mistress has always been very good to her. She hasn't said a single word of dissatisfaction. Even the old slave saw it with his own eyes. Strange, it's really strange. Mama Li was perplexed. Shi Fengju's mind flashed and he narrowed his eyes. Nanny, don't worry. Wan Yang is my wife. No matter how others wrongly accuse her, I will believe in her and protect her. Quickly go back and accompany her. I won't go over for the time being. I'm afraid she'll be angrier if she sees me. All right, then the old slave will go first. You have to come back early in the afternoon and coax young mistress. Young mistress knows your difficulties and definitely won't blame you. Mama Li nodded and left. Shi Fengju suddenly thought of Ren Jixian and Sang Yufei. Sang Yufei had won Jieyu on the first time, but Ren Jixian had already failed 3 times. Comparing the two, and with his pedantic and conceited personality, it would be strange if he felt comfortable. His eldest sister was also a competitive and protective person. In addition, she already had a prejudice against Wan Yang. Wasn't this adding fuel to the fire? Shi Fengju couldn't help but have a headache. Wan Yang was innocent, and his eldest sister was actually quite pitiful. However, he, who was stuck in the middle, was the one who was in the most difficult position. When Mama Li returned to Ning Garden, she saw Hong Yi carrying a wooden box out. Mama Li saw that it was the box that Shi Fengju used to keep the account books, and asked her where she was going. Hong Yi lowered her head and whispered, "Young mistress told this servant to bring it to young master's study." Mama Li's eyes darkened. It seemed that young mistress was really angry this time. Over the past few days, eldest young master would often bring some account books back for her to help him calculate. Sometimes, the two of them would do the calculations together in the small study room. They got along very well. Once eldest young mistress got angry, she refused to touch these things anymore. "Go. Young master is most likely in the study." Mama Li nodded. "Young mistress." Mama Li came in from outside and went forward with a smile. She saw Sangwon comforting Luya. "Mama is back." Sangwon smiled. "I'm afraid that you're also tired. There's nothing else for you to do now, so go and rest. The day is short, and it'll be dark soon. Old slave is fine, there's no need to rest. Young mistress, why don't you lie down for a while? Old slave will call you when it's dinner time." Mama Li smiled. Sangwon smiled faintly. "A day will pass if I sit like this." Mama Li chatted with her for a while. She actually wanted to comfort Sangwon, but Sangwon's expression was normal. She didn't show any anger or grievance, so Mama Li couldn't say anything. Mama Li praised Sangwon in her heart for being magnanimous and accepting. However, she soon realized that something was wrong. Sangwon didn't treat the servants unfairly, but she clearly alienated and ignored Shi Fengju. Usually, when Shi Fengju came back, the two of them would chat and laugh, and the atmosphere would be relaxed and harmonious. However, today the atmosphere was still relaxed and harmonious. Sangwon also came forward to help him change his outer robe, and handed him a hot towel to serve him tea. However, everyone felt that something was different. Shi Fengju chatted and laughed with her, but she only lowered her eyes and answered indifferently. She didn't say that she was ignoring him, nor did she make a fuss, but it still made people feel awkward. Shi Fengju didn't want to do anything in front of the servants, so he just sighed in his heart. He thought that his little wife was someone who didn't have a temper, but it seemed that he was wrong. After the meal, Shi Fengju forcefully pulled her into the warm room, and everyone tactfully left. "Wan Yang, are you really angry? You even asked someone to send the account books back. I was hoping that I could give the servants an accurate number tomorrow. If you don't help me, I don't know how long I'll have to calculate tonight." Shi Fengju smiled as he leaned over. Sangwon didn't give him any face and moved to the side, saying indifferently, "I shouldn't be interfering with business matters. Young master, please don't make things difficult for me in the future. If someone finds out that I'm interfering with the Shi family's business one day, I don't know if there will be any loyal servants to take a slap for me." Shi Fengju didn't expect her words to be so sharp and choked. However, he also knew that it was possible for his big sister to say such words. Shi Fengju couldn't help but sigh. "Wan Yang, can't you trust me just this once? It was really an accident this time. Didn't mother say that big sister won't dare to do anything to you again? What if she dares?" Sangwon raised her head and stared intently at Shi Fengju. These days, Shi Yumei had made her extremely tired, and she was tired of it. This person wasn't like Gu Fengzi. Gu Fengzi didn't dare to do anything openly, and as long as she remained vigilant, Shi Yumei wouldn't be able to plot against her so easily. However, Shi Yumei was completely unscrupulous. It wasn't the first time she mocked and ridiculed her in front of her, but she really couldn't do anything to her. That was because she was the Shi family's big missy and the apple of her mother-in-law Wang's eye. She had never heard of a mother-in-law not helping her own daughter, but helping her daughter-in-law. Furthermore, this daughter's misfortune was pitiful, and the daughter-in-law had everything. So shouldn't she be more magnanimous, tolerant and patient? If she tries to do anything to me again, will you help me hit her back? Or, won't you and mother-in-law blame me if I hit her back? Sangwon sneered. "Say it. You have nothing to say now," Shi Fengju said seriously. "I won't let this happen. I'll instruct Mama Li and Xingji to serve you carefully. In short, I won't let her touch you. If this happens again, I'll send the two of them back to Mengxian. That should be fine, right? Sangwon said coldly. What's the difference between her touching the people around me and slapping me in the face? You want to send them away? Please don't. By then, even if it wasn't my idea, it would become my idea. I'm afraid that even mother would blame me. Chapter 129. Shi Fengju smiled and said, If you can't do this and can't do that, then tell me, what do you want me to do? Sangwon choked for a moment, because she didn't know what to do either. This Shi Yume was like a piece of tofu that had fallen into a pile of ashes. She couldn't be praised nor beaten. Shi Fengju sighed softly and placed his hand gently on Sangwon's shoulder. Even when Sangwon turned away, he wasn't angry and continued, My big sister's nature isn't bad. She's just stubborn and straightforward. Her words are a little unrestrained, and she doesn't care if people can take it or not, let alone give people face. Wanyang, she's just prejudiced against you. I think if she understands you, she won't treat you like this. I'll try my best to let her understand you and let her know that you're my. No need. Sangwon became impatient. I didn't expect that. Since you know her temper, isn't it too ridiculous to think that you can change her? Besides, there doesn't seem to be a need for that. Wanyang, what do you mean by that? Shi Fengju's expression changed slightly. There wasn't a need for that. Could it be that she still wanted to leave him? Nothing. Sangwon shook her head and said lightly, Your third brother and my second brother are back, right? How did the two of you confront each other? What was the result? Wanyang, Shi Fengju smiled bitterly and said, Didn't mother say that this matter is over? Why do you have to complicate things? Sangwon stared at him in disbelief and said coldly, I didn't say anything. Why can't you even tell me the result? But I believe in my second brother's character. I don't need to ask you to know. I just want to ask you, if this matter is our fault, will your big sister let it go? Wanyang. Shi Fengju stared at her and said seriously, You're the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shi family. It's inevitable that you'll be wronged. Some things. You don't have to say any more. Sangwon felt a burst of bitterness in her heart. In the eyes of outsiders, she was the young mistress of the family who lived a life of luxury and ordered servants around. But clearly, she had suffered many grievances in secret, hadn't she? Even if there was only a thin layer of window paper covering it, and not tearing it apart, when had she not held the attitude of turning big problems into small ones and small ones into nothing? She pretended not to understand those sarcastic remarks and laughed it off. When she came to Ning Garden and asked for decorations and jewelry, she would give it to her. She even had her eyes on Xingji and wanted to get it in private. This time it was even more outrageous. She rushed to the door, pointed at her nose, and started to scold and hit her. Even if she was a clay figurine, she would not have such a good temper. How could she bear it? Sangwon got up and left silently. Shi Fengju called her twice, but she didn't respond. She was too naive. She still hoped that he would change for her in this life. She had been working hard bit by bit, but she was still too naive. Actually, all these conflicts could be easily resolved. As long as the young mistress of the Shi family was not her but Gu Fengzi, she believed that all the problems would be solved and everyone would be free, right? Sangwon finally thought it through. She was really silly. Why did she have to endure and be magnanimous? She wanted to be an evil woman. The worst outcome would be a divorce letter. Would her brother and sister-in-law not even give her a bowl of rice? In any case, her two brothers and sister-in-law would not agree with her swallowing her anger and being bullied. Shi Fengju sat alone in the warm room for a long time, holding his forehead and sighing from time to time. This matter was much more difficult than business. It gave him a headache and he couldn't think of a solution. His wife was angry and his sister was dissatisfied. But if it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't bear to hurt anyone, why would he be so conflicted? However, none of them understood his difficulties and blamed him on both sides. It was hard to be a good person. When Shi Fengju returned to his room to rest, the curtain had already been lowered and Sangwon had already fallen asleep. He gently lifted a corner of the curtain. Sure enough, This woman did not leave him any space like she did for the past few days. Shi Fengju hesitated for a long time, not knowing if he should thicken his skin and squeeze in or obediently continue sleeping on the floor. Sangwon felt someone standing beside her, and unconsciously opened her eyes. Wan Yang. Shi Fengju saw that she was awake and smiled. Good Wan Yang, look at the cold weather. Give me some space. I promise I won't disturb you. Sangwon did not want to see him at this moment, so how could she be willing to lie on the same bed with him? This bastard had been acting pitiful and using flowery words these past few days, coaxing her until her heart softened. It seemed that there was no need for that. This is your room. If you want to come up, I can't stop you. I'll let you have it. Sangwon said as she got up to get off the bed. Where are you going? Shi Fengju anxiously held her down. To make room for you, Sangwon said indifferently. You sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the bottom. Forget it. You sleep. Shi Fengju could not help but feel a little angry. With a sullen face, he threw down the curtain and angrily opened the cabinet to sleep on the floor. Sangwon ignored him and continued to lie down to sleep. A cold war began between the two of them. The atmosphere in Ning Garden had also become strange. Although the two masters were still courteous on the surface, it made people feel uncomfortable when they were in the middle of it. After asking Shi Fenghua and knowing that it was a misunderstanding, Shi Yumei felt embarrassed and said, Then why didn't you call your brother-in-law when you went out today? What was the meaning of just leaving him behind? Shi Fenghua did not have the nerve to say that they had deliberately left his brother-in-law behind. He could only say, Our classmates at school wanted to see Ji Yuan Sang. They specifically said that only second brother Sang could go. I couldn't do anything about it. Shi Yumei saw that her younger brother was so confident, and had nothing else to say. She could only drop the subject. Shi Fengju said, Big sister, I can see that brother-in-law's age is quite different from second uncle and third brothers, and their experiences are different as well. What topics would brother-in-law have to talk about with them? Tell brother-in-law not to feel embarrassed and to work hard in Banana Courtyard. He doesn't need to accompany them all day because of his face. These words were simply timely rain in a timely manner. Shi Fenghua could not wait and said, That's right. Big sister, brother-in-law's words are too profound. We don't understand. Also, it would be embarrassing to delay brother-in-law's time. There's no need to let him come over in the future. Really? You don't understand what he's saying? Shi Yumei was delighted and hurriedly asked. Then did Ji Yuan Sang say the same thing? Of course. Shi Fenghua smiled. Like I said, your brother-in-law is truly talented. Shi Yumei was very pleased with herself. She generously patted Shi Fenghua's shoulder and said, You are my younger brother. We are family. It is only right for your brother-in-law to give you pointers. How is this considered delaying his time? But humph, we can't let that Sang family member get away with this. If he hears about it, he will get away with it. When he leaves, you can let your brother-in-law give you some pointers alone. Who knows, maybe our family will have a real Ji Yuan Sang next year. We don't need to bask in other people's glory. Shi Fenghua smiled vaguely. He thought to himself, once second brother Sang leaves, I should hurry back to school. He could not help but sympathize with his sister. Why did she have to make such a marriage in the first place? It's good that our Fenghua is able to become Ji Yuan Sang. Wang loved to hear such words, but she reprimanded Shi Yumei. You too. In the future, don't say such things to the Sang family. Our two families are now in-laws. If Wan Yang hears what you said, how will she feel? Mother is already at this age. How long can I protect you for? In the future, you will have to rely on Wan Yang to take care of you. Who needs her to take care of me? Shi Yumei snorted. Isn't Fengju and Fenghua my younger brothers? Besides, there's still cousin Fengzi. Shi Yumei, don't care about her. Yumei. Wang's face darkened. Don't speak nonsense. No matter what, Wan Yang is now the Shi family's young mistress. If you keep acting like this, where is her authority? How is she going to manage this family? Then what does it have to do with me if she can't stand up? If she can stand up, what can I do to her? Mother, you can't blame me for everything. Sure, Yume was indignant. You. Wang was so angry that she could not speak. Mother, don't say such discouraging words. Your body is still fine, and you still have a lot of blessings to enjoy. At the very least, third brother has to fight for a title for you, right? What's the point of saying such things? Sure, Fengju laughed. Io, if that day really comes, I'll be able to die in peace. Wang sure couldn't help beaming with joy. Mother, big brother just told me not to say such things, but you're doing it again. Your son will definitely not disappoint, Mother. Sure, Fenghua's spirits were lifted and he quickly smiled. That's right, Mother. Third brother is so smart, there will definitely be such a day. Sure, Yume also laughed. Sure, Fengju then turned to Sure Yume and said, Big sister, we are siblings from the same mother. The door of this family will always be open to you, and no one in this family will make you angry or bully you. I knew it, I didn't dote on my brother for nothing. Sure, Yume's heart felt warm and her eyes could not help but moisten. Wang was also very gratified when she heard it. Compared to Sangwon, she was more concerned about her son's attitude. Since her son said so, her heart was no longer troubled. If big sister suffers from any grievances in the future, can you tell me first? I will definitely seek justice for big sister. What he meant was, don't be impulsive and don't do it yourself. At the end of the day, you're still protecting Sangwon. Sure, Yume's face suddenly turned ugly. Wang agreed and nodded repeatedly. Fengju is right. That's how it should be. Since mother has said so, what else can I say? Sure, Yume rolled her eyes at Sure Fengju. All right. I won't find trouble with her in the future. Big sister. Sure, Fengju choked and could only smile bitterly. With her straightforward personality, he really didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Sure, Yume was originally a little nervous, afraid that her brother would remember that she had to apologize to Sangwon, who knew that Sure Fengju only joked about other things and did not mention a word about the apology. Sure, Yume was secretly relieved. Thinking about it again, she was the eldest daughter of the Sure family. How could she apologize to the Sang family's lass for no reason? She was too naive. Of course, if she was wrong, then she would have to apologize to her. Sure, Yume was calm in her heart. Thus, when she met Sangwon in the garden, she snorted arrogantly and walked past her with her head held high. She originally wanted to ridicule her, but she held back when she remembered her promise to her brother. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.